but I kind of want to smoke something. Is that an option? No, that's too much work. We'll do it later.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We hope you're smoking something.
But we're okay if you're not.
Yes,
you know?
that must be discussed.
We don't say that enough.
We really don't, and especially if this is the first time someone's listening to this podcast, which, to clarify, this is a podcast.
Yeah.
It is a podcast. It's not a podcast.
Because we're smoking weed and... Nope.
Smoking movies and we're talking weed. You gotta let me do it, guys.
Yeah, I know.
I'm the only one.
Well,
I got it right
my
every
brain
time.
You know,
melts.
if this thing's going to last, we're going to have to switch it up sometime.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We're gonna run it down.
Can we practice?
Just listen.
Off
Just
mic.
listen. Just,
I listen
off mic we can't.
every
Hey,
week.
It took us so long to get Sassy.
You're right.
Like we had to.
But
Sassy,
I got it.
Sassy,
We worked-
sassy,
we
sassy.
worked
If any
towards
of you
it.
have listened to those early episodes, you know we were going sassy, sassy,
Oh,
sassy. We
you
haven't
know.
done that in a minute, so it's a good thing. We
All
have. I feel like no matter what, whenever I refer to him now, it's always Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
And everyone will kind of give me that look like sassy.
That's
Because
it,
they
baby.
don't know. They're not woke to the sassy.
Play
They're
the
not
clip.
hip.
Scorsese.
There it is once again.
Yeah.
Why
not?
He has officially said it for the record.
Himself.
Twice on this podcast.
Yeah.
I think I may have even thrown it in a third time somewhere random. Maybe in the keep
Maybe.
it, double it. Keep it, double it. Come here.
Keep it, double it, 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 keep it, double it.
Good shit. All right.
Why
Now,
do we do that to people?
I'm just giving myself more work to do.
It's
basically.
fun.
Yeah.
Now run it down.
Okay, so this is the Chronic Canon. We are smoking movies and we're talking weed.
Sure
We're
are.
live in our ears, but not in yours.
Yes.
Why? Because we record earlier than you can possibly listen to this podcast.
That's right. Unless you're in, like downstairs,
Yes.
then I guess
Leave?
Oh, speaking of leaving, if you don't like heat, get the fuck out of here.
you're gonna have to go.
Bye-bye.
Oh, also, this is an explicit podcast, bad language.
Oh,
podcast.
we've never warned people about that.
I know.
But we do spoil movies.
We do spoil movies. There will be spoilers. And guess what? We are very high.
And Tyler Durden they're the same person.
Yep.
Also, if you've never seen Heat.
Stop! Why do you do that?
if you've
God damn it!
If you've never seen Heat, that's okay.
that is
It's
fine.
okay.
You can stay.
Oh.
You should
Yeah.
watch it.
I was
Hey.
gonna say that.
And just to point it out again, Black lives will always matter, and
Yeah.
you should be donating as much money or time as you possibly can
Yeah, man.
to any of these causes listed in this, Google Doc that is linked in our Twitter.
Wow.
Oh, you should go to our Twitter.
What's our Twitter?
It is at Chronic Canon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Or you can
mhm.
contact us at our email, thechroniccanon@gmail.com, and we will send you a direct link from our Google email account
You
to
can
your
al-
Google
you know,
Doc account.
You guys, now that I'm thinking about it, there was one episode where we did invite people to insult us in the comments of
Yeah.
our YouTube, and I think that's maybe why that guy shit on our YouTube.
Well,
Anyways,
we don't even know, so who knows?
Also, leave comments on our YouTube, please.
Yeah.
You know,
Tell us when we're wrong.
whenever we get
I'm
messages.
wrong all the time on this podcast. It's absurd.
I mean, never
feels so
once
bad.
in this whole spiel did you hear, well, listener, that we said we are always correct.
All
Right
whatever.
now, you're actually hearing the opposite. Most of the time, we're wrong, and everything is opinions, but
Yes.
ours are better than yours. That's
Of
why we
course.
have the podcast.
That's why
Yes,
we have
the
microphones.
podcast.
Yes.
And if you weren't informed, we are talking Sassy. Who's Sassy?
Sassy.
Martin Scorsese.
Sassy.
The iconic American auteur,
Sassy.
studio legend,
Sassy.
Italian baby boy.
Italian
Yes.
American baby boy. I
Thick
recently saw a
eyebrows,
tweet that
spaghetti.
said something about how, Governor Cuomo, he said that we should keep Christopher Columbus's statue up for now because it is a representation of Italian American heritage in America. Which, I mean, okay, whatever. But somebody
No.
said,
Wasn't he Spanish?
may have been.
No, he was hired by like the Queen of Spain.
Which is
Oh.
ridiculous. It's a ridiculous excuse.
to
But
find
somebody said,
India
okay, fine.
for
If you want to
spices.
have a fucking statue to commemorate Italian American heritage in this country, put up a statue of Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
And then I said,
Yeah.
hey.
And his mom.
Hey, no, I said, let's fucking double down and make a statue for Catherine instead.
Yes.
Woo-hoo!
I would actually,
She
yes.
deserves a statue.
Without her,
In New York City, come on.
we'd have no Goodfellas.
Listen,
Once
we
a
don't.
year, you all meet up and eat spaghetti right in front of her. That's the new
To
Columbus
all
Day.
the people that worked so hard to commission that RoboCop statue, it's a bad time for a RoboCop statue. Put your effort toward the Catherine
yes,
Scorsese
yes.
statue.
Yes. With her doing her pose from Who's That Knocking at My Door?
Yeah, with the
getting
food.
the food out of
Yes.
the oven. Come on. love
Or
her.
can we just have a statue commemorating the scene in Goodfellas?
that works too? All
Where
four
all of them at
them
the table.
and
with the
Marty
butcher
directing.
knife. And Marty there, yes.
He's just
That's
hanging.
a statue, New York. Get on it.
Okay,
Chop, chop.
so speaking of Martin
Oh,
Scorsese,
I'm
we're
Frank.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Brandon.
Wow,
We didn't even
that
do
took
that.
a minute.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, email us for real. Take us up on this. Email us if you like this. Should we always run out the beginning like this?
I don't know.
I feel like we listed a lot of just like, here's all the info.
Well, I mean, it's right out the gate. You know,
Yeah.
you can skip forward. It's only like, what, 5 minutes into the podcast?
Don't
now?
skip forward.
Yeah.
Why would you skip forward?
I thought you
Every
like us.
second is vital.
Okay. So, we're talking Martin Scorsese on this podcast.
Yes.
We're talking his films, his narrative films.
Yes.
Not his documentary films.
No.
Or his short films, but we might talk a few of them eventually. We
I
thought
don't
about maybe
know,
once we
man.
get through the full gauntlet.
We
but
really, there's been so many things up in the air on what we're going to do after Sassy, but every time we talk about it, we're like, we're going to be doing Sassy for the rest of our lives. It never ends. It's been every
he's
day.
going to keep making movies for the time being.
Every time he makes a new one, well, at least
All right,
if
run
we
it
have the
down.
next one, we
Killer
gotta
of the
watch
Flower Moon is official. It's happening.
it. Yeah, I know. Well,
Wait, which
hopefully
one
he
picked
lives.
it? Was it Netflix or Apple?
Apple. Netflix dropped the ball.
$200 million budget.
I know, but Apple's like releasing its own video streaming platform now.
They did already.
They'll release the shit
Rob
in theaters.
McElhenney has a new
They
show
won
on it.
awards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the video game show. or
Yeah, I
whatever?
can't remember what it's called. But there is a couple shows, I think, that run on Apple exclusively now. So
Oh, the new Central Park. The creators of Bob's.
Yeah.
Bob's
yeah, I
Burgers.
saw a
Bob's
trailer for
Burgers.
that today.
anyway, just to complete what we were saying, we were talking Martin Scorsese.
Yes.
And right now we are on his 13th narrative fiction film, which
Bad
is
luck.
Cape
Over
Fear.
halfway.
Is
Yeah.
that why he did that?
Why?
Because 13's a bad luck number? He's like, I'm going to make a rotten movie. We don't mean
No,
rotten
I
as
don't
in
think
bad.
so.
We mean
Simply
rotten
because
as in the
he
content.
fucking made a hit with Cape Fear. No bad
I-
luck
do-
on that side.
Audience-wise, I thought it was critically...
Actually,
No, I think it did okay. I don't think it did
hold
badly.
Hold on. Let me get you all the info.
You guys are
real
usually
fast.
my gauge for the critics. So.
I don't. I'm
I
not,
Frank's the one with
I'm
the
not sure.
computer.
All right.
Technically, I am too, but I'm just recording. On
I
this
mean, I guess this isn't the best barometer, but it has 73% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That
so
is
it's good.
good.
Certified fresh, baby.
Yeah.
So enough people like it. Am I just doing that? Let me just do this. The budget.
Well,
in
no,
the
wait a
box
minute.
office?
We haven't
No?
even gotten into Cape Fear yet, bro.
We're talking Cape Fear.
Well, we're about to, but you know what Cape Fear is?
Okay. You're right.
It's a remake.
Yeah.
It's a Remido.
And usually remies are pretty bad, like in the grand scope of things.
Yeah. Overall.
I guess.
I think that most of the time remakes come as studio
unnecessary,
cheap cash grabs.
yes.
Yeah.
Because they can capitalize on a name. It's the same thing as a Broadway play,
Mhm.
taking a movie
Mhm.
property that's popular and repurposing it into a play or musical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to make money. Sometimes some of them sneak through, though.
I think it's the reimaginings that stick out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're still technically remakes, but that feeling of it's doing its own thing.
Right.
It's always when you're just transplanting the exact same, where the purpose of it existing feels pointless. Because
Yeah.
if I'm just watching, in essence, the same thing,
What's
why?
the point?
Why?
Right, exactly.
Literally,
Why
why did I do that?
Because you knew you can make a lot of money off of it. You
Right.
mean the Terminators that are coming out that are not necessarily
Well, those
remakes?
sequels,
Well, see,
bro.
it's
I
you could
guess.
also
Yeah, I
talk. We've
guess.
talked about Force Awakens before, and it's
Right.
like you
Yeah.
could talk about
See, I
Force
feel-
Awakens being
yeah.
an inadvertent remake, even though the studio probably was very aware that they were just redoing the old material.
And you could thematically say that makes sense. We're cycling through with a new generation. And it's like, all right, but can it be a different movie?
Please,
because you can do that.
Yeah, you can do that too. and
despite
still
the
get your
fact that
points
I
across.
desperately wanted to fall for it at the time.
We've
yeah,
told
I,
that story.
I
on this
couldn't. Yeah, we
pod.
did. That's why I'm addressing it. So, what's everyone's favorite remake? If you had to pick one,
Oh, we have the one in common.
yes, we do have one in common.
We've literally
Uh,
name
We've
checked
We've already
it.
talked about it on this podcast in every single episode, and it is a stipulation as to whether or not you are allowed to listen.
Oh,
And that
wow.
Is Heat.
Yeah,
That's a remake.
yeah.
It
We
is a
forget
remake
it was
of a
a TV movie.
TV movie called
No, it was
LA
a TV
Takedown.
show.
No,
It
You're
was.
thinking of Miami Vice.
It was
bro.
supposed to be a TV show, and it didn't get picked up, so they made
Well,
it a TV movie.
I thought it was like a 1 hour pilot.
It's like an hour and a half.
Yes.
It's a movie.
And there are
Okay,
direct scenes that are like
okay.
almost shot for shot, like rip.
Anyone should go YouTube
The
LA
diner scene?
Takedown diner scene.
Yeah.
Because it is
And watch
the-
them back to back with the original
Yeah.
and the remake.
they're
version.
they're literally shot the same,
yeah.
which just proves movie star power.
It's not about the shots.
Yeah.
It's about the performances.
Yes.
When
Like-
you have Pacino and De Niro going head to head, you have gold. You do not need to do anything with that camera.
That
You can
comes-
apply the same thing to the Social Network opening scene too.
Yeah, I think if you
Yeah.
well, I mean, Heat's definitely is taking it like one step further. I think it's because you have 30 years of star power and professional acting, and for most of that being the two biggest actors in the world, like you have that undeniable presence that just
And-
oozes off the screen, which is like just proof concept that like when you're starting out as an actor, you can't just do that. That comes with success.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
literally
Well,
what those two
mhm.
possess.
Yes. And Al Pacino and De Niro were like the two actors that audiences, at least on a general level in America, certainly wanted to see together more than any pairing like
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the time.
was a
Like
big
it
deal.
was huge.
'Cause they got a
But
little.
I mean,
they got
people
a tease
still
in
bitch about it
Godfather.
and still theorize that they didn't shoot that scene together
Right.
and that they never actually
So
shared
stupid.
like shooting time together, which is absurd. Have
Yeah.
you seen the end of Heat? Clearly,
Yeah.
you haven't.
You think they just
And
made
if
him
you're listening to
grab
this and
some
you think that that's
random
possible, then
man's
you haven't
hand?
seen Heat either. What are you doing? You're getting out.
Yes.
You've
Sorry.
been shaking. He was shaking you
He
for
was
the record.
physically
That's-
shaking. So he
I got that Vincent Hanna energy.
is our collective favorite remake. Like, that is
It's my
the
favorite.
best.
So
It's
yes,
so
Heat is
funny.
the remake.
Ralph, sit down.
You want to die walking your doggy?
Yes.
Walking your little doggy. That's what we thought it was. That's the line. You want to die walking your little doggy? But then we looked it up. And
I don't
it's,
even
you wanna
think it's-
die walking your doggy.
I don't even think it's that.
No,
I think
it's
it's something
not that.
completely separate. It's really
Yeah,
shitty-
I just
shitty.
remember us rewatching it and then being like, aw, why did we make that so fun in our heads? Set ourselves up
It's
for
just not.
failure.
It's just not as like the words are not exact.
He definitely says doggy.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is why it's funny.
Yes.
He doggy.
So Heat being the ultimate remake, I would say the other like behemoths out there are The Thing. But even though people
Yeah.
have, pointed out that that's more of a reimagining again because it's not like shot for shot, bit for bit the same movie.
well,
yeah, but
I don't
it's-
think any remake is a shot for shot, bit for bit the exact
Psycho
same.
and one of the better remakes of all time,
Funny
Games,
Games, yeah.
U.S.
It's a literal shot for shot remake by the same director.
Yeah.
He just was like, America needs this.
In
So
fact,
he
what
made it
he
again.
said when he made the original movie that he wanted it to be seen by American audiences more than anyone because he hoped that they would need the message the most.
And he was right.
And they
Was
didn't get
there a
it, and then he
message
made the U.S.
in Funny
one.
Games?
It's all about how the media is bad, basically.
It-
All
it-
all
it's
forms.
Isn't it about these dudes that are like, hey man, we're gonna kill all you guys slowly but surely, and we're gonna have fun while doing it. He makes a game out of it.
Yeah.
You explained it to me once, and then
Yeah.
you're like, I can't tell you anymore because you got to watch it. But I've never had the opportunity to watch Funny Games. I don't know where to get
It
it.
sits on my Criterion shelf behind you.
Pop it in right now.
It's a miserable movie.
It is a
Sorry guys,
miserable
we'll be
movie.
back in 2.5 hours.
It's a movie.
Literally, there's a point where he's like, "Oh, you want to get less?" We spoil movies on this podcast.
Yeah, but
you
not-
don't spoil them for me. I'm special.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it.
I'll spoil it for
because
the
you're
average
live in our
citizen.
ears.
Yeah.
And not in
You
yours.
get to-
Years.
Yours,
avoid the
the
spoilers.
listener, but I'm Frank.
I'm Jesse.
Brandon.
God, I need to learn how to speak.
So, Funny Games, primo example
Yes.
of a shot-for-shot remake.
Yes.
And the
then-
thing is a primo example of a reimagining.
and so
he-
is Suspiria.
And Suspiria is definitely up there too, I think.
Luca
He's more
Guadagnino.
like a
Adaptation?
traditional remake.
Hmm.
Like it is taking the material and just like improving
well, like
upon
LA
it.
Takedown is like a rough draft.
Right. The only other one that I wrote down was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I thought about that one too. Yeah, it's I mean, it's great. It's just not like it's weird because they
Isn't
came
James
out so
Bond in that?
together.
Yeah.
Yes, Daniel Craig. There's many.
Yeah,
James
they were
Bonds.
like 2 years apart. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
2009,
they were really close
2011.
together.
There's
I do
only
like
one
Fincher's version
James
better
Bond.
than the original from my recollection.
Me
If
too.
I'm remembering correctly.
Me too.
I haven't seen the original in a very long time. I've seen
Me
the Fincher
neither.
version relatively recently.
Yeah, it's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm sorry. I'm being frank.
I'm Jesse.
Brandon?
I like it more than Zodiac.
It's okay.
I know. I'm sorry.
Everyone can have their Finchy.
Well, Seven's my Finchy.
Even if someone was like Panic Room's my favorite, I'd be like, ooh, you're cool.
Yeah. It's a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's fun.
You know what else is a good movie?
Wait, remakes. What else? What else?
Well, I was gonna bring up A Fistful of Dollars.
Is that a
King
Yeah,
It's
Kong.
well because they try to go back and forth on how it's like Leone wasn't actually remaking it because he was adapting the same material that Yojimbo had adapted, but they sued him. So
Oh.
they were because he was trying to say like I didn't steal it, and he's like, well, we're gonna sue you for some money then.
Who won?
I think Kurosawa did.
That makes sense.
So I
Okay.
think that's why it's in the lexicon now. If it's officially like in the books that he lost the settlement, then it's a remake.
Okay, that's a primo example too.
But they
I don't know why
are
I
like
keep saying that.
stylistically too the same. Like he rips a lot of Kurosawa stuff, but it does
Really?
feel like even like the Mifune coming out of the smoke,
Mhm.
and there's like oh god, there's a couple other scenes. Birdman and I talked about it. after I watched it because I was curious. I know he's more familiar with Yojimbo. I've only seen it one time. It was a long-ass time ago. And just because this is the podcast, I saw it in theaters at a midnight show, and I was so high that we now refer to a certain level of high
Oh, yeah.
as the Yojimbo high.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it's a little fuzzy.
When you're dehabilitated completely. Good.
That was the only time I was like, someone please drive.
That's not the only time. There's been others.
Maybe.
I have definitely after Mulholland Drive in theaters and Phantom Thread.
Yes.
Before Phantom Thread,
Yes.
the DIA.
And
The few times where I was the most sober.
Yes.
Let's go.
and Valerian.
Yes.
Story for another day.
God, fuck that movie. What did you just bring up? King Kong?
King Kong.
Peter Jackson's version is pretty dope.
I haven't
liked
seen
it.
his version. I
Normal
actually have only
Jack
seen
Black.
the original.
Well, the original was boring to me.
I don't remember it being remarkable as far as like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing. It just felt like I
But
was watching something more or
the
less for
remake,
historical
super
context.
dope. I like the Jungle Book remake. Watched that not too long ago.
Not a fan.
Not bad, man. Idris Elba was pretty good.
John Favreau
Uh,
should stick
McCavity
to making
himself.
dope ass
McCavity
food.
himself. What else? What's another good? I was gonna say Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Does that
It's finally a fucking good adaptation for Spider-Man.
It's an adaptation.
Since
It's
the
not a
Raimi.
remake.
It is a remake. It's them remaking the Spider-Man.
But is it the
Rebooting?
same exact narrative?
Reboot.
as-
Oh my god! If it wasn't
know,
a Marvel
yeah.
movie, you
we
guys
could count
wouldn't
it.
do
We
this.
could count it.
Okay.
I don't
It
care.
counts.
None of these
It
rules matter.
Counts.
We make the
We
rules.
are the
Fine.
rules.
It's our podcast.
Yes.
If you don't like it, please stay.
Yeah. Come on.
Only if you don't like
Miami
meat.
Vice counts too.
Oh boy.
Just kidding. No, it doesn't. It should, maybe.
If there's an episode of Miami Vice that like mirrors the plot of Miami Vice the movie, someone let us know at our email or our Twitter.
Yeah.
We will not watch it.
No, I will watch that.
I want
No,
I
the
have
whole
a-
series. I mean,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I do want to watch the pilot. It's often listed as a movie. It's like an hour and a half.
Oh, cool.
And it has like a My
Michael
Brother's
Mann didn't
Keeper
direct
or
it, did he?
something. No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Oh my god, hold on. This is important, I swear to God. Miami Vice. What is it called? Is it My Brother's Keeper? It's just Brother's Keeper, not My Brother's Keeper. And it was directed.
Hey, talk on mic. I'm losing you.
And it was directed by Thomas Carter, and that matters because he made other movies, and he is an African American. Swing Kids, Metro, Save the Last Dance, and Coach Carter are all the guy who made the Miami Vice pilot.
I think I may
Nice.
have seen Coach Carter like
It's
randomly.
Sam Jackson.
Yes, I know that fucking DVD cover
Yeah,
very well.
I own the VHS. I don't think I ever watched it though.
I must have watched it at some point down the line.
But yeah, so the remakes, lots of good old remakes. Oh, yeah.
Dune's coming out pretty soon.
Oh, yeah.
right?
Dune is coming. We'll find out if it is a good remake or not eventually.
It better be.
I hope.
This is so important, you guys.
Tim Tam,
Greg
this is your
Fraser or
shot.
Greg Fraser
This is your
shooting
shot
it,
to break
and
through.
Man, oh man, that
Jesse,
guy knows how to operate a camera.
have you been seeing the shit on Twitter that is trying to say that like Timothy Chalamet, his like when he was going to NYU, spread chlamydia around? What is
I
that?
did not see that.
I've seen it like 4 times. I was
Tim
like, I
Tam.
can't tell if this is real or if this is like a really elaborate like internet joke.
Yeah, maybe
Because I read somewhere that it was a fan fiction, but then I read
Then
somewhere
again, I've seen some wild Tim Tam content that I just like never expected to see. So you never know. Possible.
and then I read
I
somewhere
know
else.
somebody who says they know him because
Yeah.
they go to school with him.
I read somewhere else entirely on Twitter that another person was like, yeah, this is actually true. Like it happened to my friend, like who went to NYU with him, and I was like, well,
Damn.
I wonder if it's true. Probably doesn't have chlamydia now.
Don't sue us for
Hope
libel.
not.
But
Yeah, like I don't know. We don't know. We're not judging you if you did.
I just hope you do. Fuck, hilarious. Also, call me.
Give you chlamydia.
I mean,
Tim,
if that's what it takes.
I want you to be in a movie in the future.
Yeah,
So if this is what it takes,
I'm just kidding. That's wrong.
pass the. I clapped. The clap.
Oh, the clap. Good. Oh, Jesus Christ. Who let this happen?
Yeah.
Where was his publicist this day?
We got to stop looking up pictures of people
No, it's
on
good.
a no
Look up-
visual podcast.
Look up Timothy Chalamet, and it is the 8th photo on Google
You
Images.
think it's going to be consistent?
If you, by the time this comes out, maybe. He's got a dirt stash, and his hair is a little too long, and he looks high as shit.
Yeah, he looks like a stoner.
0 out of 10. But then if you look a couple
6.
to the left and right, you're looking about a 20. But that's not what we're talking about today.
No, I was
Nah.
gonna say, since you talked about remakes and TV, like we just watched the Simpsons spoof of Cape Fear,
Oh, yeah.
which is directly like the Scorsese one.
Yes.
Also, The Night of the
Mhm.
Hunter, which I think also Scorsese literally addresses a few times in Cape Fear. But the Simpsons episode of Cape Fear is actually like maybe my favorite iteration of Cape Fear. Not to spoil my
funny.
feelings on I do like both versions of Cape Fear, the movie, but I think that comedically, like I was saying to you, Frank, off mic, I being Jesse,
I'm Frank.
Brandon.
the rake bit is like
Oh,
an
yeah.
all-time, maybe top 10, top 5 best bits just in general of all time.
I can't disagree.
Rake bit.
Is that a clip or is that Jesse? Vote now.
You can't tell.
Twitter poll at Chronic Canon.
That was Frank. I can't do it.
He's not very good.
It was very funny.
That episode what didn't slap as hard as I remembered though.
I feel like I probably picked that show up around like 7 or 8, maybe. Probably when I picked up the game on PS2.
Hmm.
Hit
It
and
was
run.
on-
Hit and run.
I swear to God,
Road
it was
Rage is
on
not
after
as
school.
good.
No, it's not. Road Rage is dumb. It's just Crazy Taxi.
But Hit and Run.
Hit and
It's an
Run's
all-timer.
GTA. Come on.
Classic.
But it's an all-timer.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a little clunky, but it's still fun.
I haven't played it since I was like a youth, so
I have, and it's a little clunky, but it's fun.
yes. Okay.
You got to use the cheats.
Pretty much any game you go back
Yeah,
to,
they're
it's
all
like, why was
clunky.
this easier when I was a
Yeah,
kid?
because
What's
we didn't
going
know
on?
better.
So
we
to,
were as evolved with the technology.
so to point out
Exactly.
something interesting too about the remakes, Scorsese has remade other movies
The
in
Departed.
his The Departed being the most notable. But I always forget that The Age of Innocence is technically a remake because there was an adaptation of it
The
done
Crucible.
years earlier. Like
Stop it.
way
That's
way
the first thing I thought of when you said the 1800s. I was like, the Crucible.
He's not in. He didn't do The Crucible
Why not?
because that's not him.
Why not?
I don't know. Daniel Day-Lewis is in it though, and he's in Age of Innocence. and
Also,
Gangs of New
the
York.
Crucible, 17th century.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Nope.
1800s. It's the year behind. That's why we're
That's
in
the 19th century,
20th
dude.
century.
Hold on. If it's the 1600s, that's the 17th century.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what I just said.
You said the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm leaving. I hate this podcast.
Me too.
And I hate this podcast even more.
Well, you can't hate it because we're talking Cape Fear today.
Okay. Wait, Age of Innocence is a remake, though?
Yes. Well,
Okay.
there's just another adaptation of it that exists
Okay.
that came out prior to Sessy's version. But to get into the movie, because there's a commonality that runs between Cape Fear, Age of Innocence, and even Goodfellas and Casino to round it out, the titles for these movies were all designed by Saul Bass and Elaine Bass. I don't know if Elaine worked on all of them.
Wait, really?
Yes, but Saul and Elaine did Cape Fear for sure, and I'm like 99% positive that they both did the Age of Innocence.
Like, what do
and
you mean?
Or Casino. They did the titles.
Like,
well,
they named the movie?
No, like the title sequence,
the
like they
opening
designed
credits.
the opening credits.
The directors don't do that?
Well, I mean, not usually, no.
Well, not any.
They might shape the ideas that go into them, but the title designers generally, like Saul Bass is almost like an auteurist title designer.
Right, but
In that
that's
Saul Bass did the titles for so many movies that are specifically famous for the titles, like Vertigo, Psycho, North by Northwest, like most notably. I know he did Spartacus 2. He also did Seconds, which I thought
Oh,
was
yeah.
really crazy because I don't know if you noticed this, Frank, but they repurposed footage from that title sequence into the Cape Fear opening title sequence. I specifically noticed 2 shots where I was like, that is footage from Seconds. And I don't understand why they did that, if to just add to the uncanniness of the title sequence itself.
they're
but-
reusing the score, you know,
Well,
from
is-
the
what-
original.
I know that they repurposed. Speaking of, can't go without mentioning Bernard Herrmann.
Yeah.
I have to mention Bernard Herrmann
Like,
on this
I'm not gonna
podcast.
fucking mention Bernard Herrmann.
Bernard Herrmann technically scored this movie. I
Yeah.
know that there was another composer that did touch up work
his
and did extra
son
stuff,
or his
right?
nephew or something?
Check it out on IMDb, Frank. I'm not sure.
Uh,
But I know that Bernard Herrmann did the score for the original film, which we also watched in preparation for this podcast, and which is important to note because the original players from the first movie come back for the Sessi version this time around.
Not as the same characters.
No.
But
I
they
did
do.
find it interesting that morally they're flipped.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
technically, because
no.
Mitchum's playing Nick Nolte's right hand, and then Gregory Peck is Katie's lawyer.
Elmer Bernstein was the guy who helped.
So in these opening titles, we find out that Gregory Peck, Robert Mitchum return, as well as Martin Balsam. They tried to get Telly Savalas to come back, but he would not for some reason. Not sure. But now instead of Mitchum and Peck in the lead roles, we have Nick Nolte before his crazy spiral of Nick Noltiness,
Yeah.
and Robert De Niro, as per usual, with our boy Sassy.
Our boy Bobby D.
But this is probably the most vile and evil character De Niro plays in the whole of Sassy's canon.
I mean,
You can
yes.
definitely rank up other guys close to him, but he's the most outwardly evil at the very least.
Yeah, evil's a good signifier, I think. Because like he's definitely played
Especially.
a lot of like bad to horrible people.
Yeah. I don't know if there's been good people yet.
No.
Well, you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about the comparisons between the two
I mean,
movies,
Jimmy
the original
Doyle's
and remake.
not the worst. He's just not like a good people person.
Yeah,
But he doesn't
No,
like-
he's pretty bad. They're all
De
pretty
Niro has played one morally good character in the whole of Sassy's canon. Yeah.
bad.
Sassy's Canon? No.
Yeah. Well, what were you gonna say? Shark Tank.
He's not isn't he the mob boss?
Yes.
Well, he comes around at the end.
Jesus.
No,
De Niro really does get typecast.
I was gonna say Meet the Focker.
I mean, he's a dick
And
I Meet the Parents,
But
sorry.
he's technically the antagonist of that movie.
of both.
Yeah.
Really. He's like, why do you like my daughter?
Eventually,
And
in Little
that's why do
Fockers,
you
he comes
still
around
like
maybe
my
because I
daughter?
can't remember that movie at
You
all.
saw Little Fox
In theaters.
That's wild.
I've seen all the Fockers.
I liked the movies, so I was like, "Fuck it, I'll go see
I'm
the
a
third
big
one."
fan. I was a
Okay.
big fan of Ben
Yeah.
Stiller, and I wanted to
Alright.
see that Walter Mitty movie so bad until eventually I just stopped wanting to. Is it good?
It's.
You guys haven't seen it?
No, I have.
Yeah, you have.
I- okay.
It's not good. What?
Why'd you say? Yeah, I have.
Because you've seen everything.
I'm sure.
What?
But
What?
I don't know. I was like, have I told you I've seen Secret Life of Walter Mitty before? But no, it's not a great movie. Very not memorable.
I
Saw it
have-
alone.
I thought
Like,
it was going to be
in
an
the-
emotional journey.
That's a remake.
It is.
Shame?
Yep.
Oh.
No, that's not.
What, Secret Life of Walter Mitty though?
Yeah, there's just 2 movies called Shame that I know of. But Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a remake.
Literally never heard of this other version. What the hell? 1947? Sure. So Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a lackluster movie, but neither version of Cape Fear is a lackluster movie. And
Smooth.
we watched both for this podcast. And we hope you do too. We hope you haven't just seen one of the versions, I like the old one more. I'm just going to say it now.
I do
I don't know
too.
what else to say.
Not by like much if you count the grade. 3.5 for the Sassy and a 4 for the original.
I gave both a 4, but I'm probably going to have to change that. I don't know.
Well, we'll see
At the
after we
time-
talk about it.
At the time of watching both movies, at the end, I was like, cool. But now that I'm thinking about it afterwards, I'm like, yeah, but I don't care about them in any capacity, like at all.
I was surprised by how this new one hasn't sat with me. We didn't watch it in our normal fashion. We all watched it apart.
Yeah.
And I watched it 4 days ago, I think, and you guys watched it yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I feel like already 4 days later, it's not sticking with the brain. Like the
Yeah.
old one kind of lingered for a while, at least,
Mm-hmm.
like a week
I'll
or
give you
so.
that.
But yeah, it wasn't one that I'm like, neither are all timers.
I think
Man.
the original is ultimately more effective in its stay power. Like
Mhm.
that, I think that it, like you said, it would linger more in the mind, and I think that it's because it does ultimately leave more up to you to kind of have to put together for yourself at the end of the day. Whereas the Sassy version is in your face as can possibly be.
I'll say that what I think I liked the most about the original is definitely the performances. I guess really specifically Max Cady in the original, like he's just like he is something else.
Yeah.
Like his presence, the way he talks, like everything is just like
Robert
you
Mitchum,
are
baby.
you are just a dude. But what I do really like about Sassy's version is how well it's so much more fleshed out to me. Like I like things that just sort of happened and worked in the movies now are a little bit more nuanced and have like some explanation here. And I like everything that they did with the Sam character with the Sassy version. And I like that this movie was attempting, it didn't really focus on it, which I think is the shitty thing, but attempting to shield some light on how shitty our fucking legal system works.
The remake.
Yes, the
Yeah,
remake.
the remake, not the original. The original though a little bit too, where it's like I can't arrest somebody for being about to commit a crime.
Well,
you know,
it's just I
gotta
think
wait,
that you
and that
you
is
both,
terrible.
You both said that this is like Sessy's horror film, where I'm like, yeah, I agree, but I actually think Shutter Island is definitely more in the camp of horror than this is. This leans way more toward thriller, whereas
Yeah, okay.
the Shutter Island has far more like straight up. That is a horror trope. Like that is no doubt a horror movie.
He functions the same way that like Michael Myers does.
I was gonna say about the original specifically.
That's weird to me because I would say the opposite. Like I feel like that's way more present in Scorsese's. Like De Niro feels way more just like an evil, ominous presence, even though he is kind of silly a lot. But
Well, it's not even that
like
he's ominous.
Max Cady feels way more like a real person to me. Where like
In the
or-
remake,
I'm a
they're both
fucking
the same
idiot.
guy.
I know. I realized that as soon as I said it. I'm an idiot. Robert Mitchum seems way more like a real person to me, who's just like, you're a very, very scary man.
Yeah, well, he's much scarier to me in
But
that movie.
me
But I
t-
think that
but
Robert
De
Mitchum is kind of
Niro-
inherently scary.
Yeah, he's a very.
I will
scary
say
man.
the difference is with like the whole thing is that Robert Mitchum's character definitely seems like he's more focused on like I'm gonna ruin your life and I'm still gonna be able to get on with mine.
Yes, Mitchum seems like a calculating man
Yeah.
who's like, I'm gonna get away with fucking with Gregory Peck.
Yes.
Like I'm gonna murder him, fuck up his whole life, whatever,
And then
and
get on
go
with
on
mine.
with my life.
Yes.
Because fuck that guy, and I will continue to be evil. But I
Okay.
am this weird calculating sociopath. Where
But
to
De
me, De
Niro-
Niro feels like a whirlwind of evil,
Like-
who's just like, I'm a murderer and I don't give a shit. I will sacrifice myself
But
as long as you suffer.
You're gonna catch me and I don't give a
Oh,
fuck
he
because
didn't
I'm
care.
gonna
Well, no,
get you
he-
first.
He doesn't care if he dies, obviously.
Right. But I feel like Mitchum did. And that is a difference to me of like what's pure evil and what still has resemblance of humanity.
Yes.
Like there is humanity inside. I feel personally that there is like a weird humanity inside of Mitchum. And he feels more like charming and he feels more like a dude that you could buy is getting away with all this. Where De Niro, it's like, that's a crazy man. Lock him up. How does everybody not running? Like that's a
Well,
psychopath.
I think the thing that makes Robert Mitchum scary is how much more charming and how much more
Yes.
personable he is than
Definitely
De
both
Niro. Because De
very,
Niro's
very
like
scary.
not personable, and that's part of the reason why I almost didn't like his performance in this kind of. Because the fact, like, even in that scene where it's like you were saying before, it's like, did that fucking work when he fucking laid that line on what's her name,
Yeah,
Elena
oh,
Douglas?
Dude, yeah, when he was this is in the original when he's getting when the
Oh,
first
I
time
was
that-
referring to the remake.
I thought you were
Talking-
talking about in
Nope.
the original when he's getting taken off by the cops and he walks up to her and he says one line and she looks at him and he walks away and I looked at you and I went, did that fucking work? And then you looked at me and then the next scene he was with her.
Yep, it was definitely that.
I was like, what the fuck?
I confused it.
How?
well,
And then for
in-
the rest of this movie, I don't know. Jessica can attest because he was like fucking mad at me, but I was like, God damn it! Like I am just having a great time hearing him speak. Like I love him.
Well, it's a great performance and a great role
and
like,
then he
for
went,
an actor to
"Fuck
take on.
you."
Well, I just got mad because you always bitch about the protagonists in movies and how
He's not
they're
the
bad.
protag.
Well, he's kind of.
The
Wow.
pro tag.
They share protag roles, kind of.
They share
I feel
importance
like-
of focus, but he's the antagonist.
I feel like
Okay.
I probably would have liked Robert. I probably would have liked the original Cape Fear a whole lot more if they tossed in Sessy's version with the whole like
of Sam Bowden.
Sam Bowden being his lawyer instead and like doing something to make sure he didn't get off. I like that. I like that play on it because it gives Katie just like a little bit more of a reason. Like in the original, it's like you were a witness and now I'm just gonna kill you because
like,
you were a witness.
and that's like two different levels of like scary starting points in
Yeah.
a way.
Ooh, that is
like-
cool. The entity of evil like has like a kind of a specific reason, whereas like the calculated one actually has the more unhinged reason. Like you were the witness, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, you're the reason.
It's like you gotta-
wait, what?
Is that the conclusion? You can, not the lawyer? No, that's the later version. No
Yeah.
witnesses.
But then and that one is crazy. Like, oh, he did the morally correct thing, and now he's being punished for it.
Mhm.
I think Scorsese's version has a lot more like weird morality going on.
Oh, yeah.
like left and right. When I like, all right, so let's
But that's very typical of him. That
Of
makes
course.
a lot of sense.
of course,
Especially as soon as I fucking saw De
Dude, I
Niro's
was about to
tattoos.
say, come on.
I was like, give me a fucking break. Here we
love it.
fucking go.
Truth, justice.
And it has
When
the Bible
and
and
it's
a
on
nice.
De Niro's fucking back. Yeah, okay. But
It's
fucking-
just like
hilarious.
when
I
we
know.
saw Last Temptation opening and he's just like laying on the
Oh, yeah.
cross.
Yes.
And we're like, is right now it's happening? All right.
No, he's preparing himself for the cross.
Just
He's
laying on
rehearsing
it.
for the fucking cross. The Last
Hilarious.
Temptation of Christ.
That's hilarious.
How dramatic. Jesus was a fucking sad boy loser. Yikes. Shouldn't have said that.
No, keep it in double.
Vatican, get out. Sorry.
This is also a comedy podcast. I'm going to clarify that
I
a little
don't
bit. I
know.
feel like we don't talk about that.
This podcast
We
is
joke a lot,
anything.
but hey, we did clarify earlier. Jokes are for jerks. So,
We did?
no, me and Brandon did. We had that. conversation.
Jokes aren't
I
for
I
jerks.
accidentally said jerk instead of joke, and I was like, you know what though? Jokes are for jerks. So
I'm sorry for a joke.
Only jerks. tell
jerks are
jokes.
for jokes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I mean, a joke usually has to be at somebody's expense, and
Yes.
that's a sad
A
thing.
joke has to be about something.
Yeah.
That was my Mike Birbiglia.
Mike,
That's pretty
hey,
good.
Mike Birbiglia, call it again.
The joke.
So I did want to point out about the morality and like the
Yeah.
the religious elements in Sassy that I think that it's funny how
Like a fucking clown.
This podcast is my hell. I've now figured it out.
I know I try to make it fast, but these go on and on.
I'm just kidding. I love it.
So
Kind of sometimes.
he's kind of doing Night of the Hunter too, like a little bit. It's not nearly in the same way because I think that that's where he's just pulling the religious parts of Night of the Hunter and like that sort of allegorical element because the Robert Mitchum through line of the two seems to be very important, even with De Niro, where like he's playing off of that guy in that original performance, filling those shoes. And then they even go as far as to reference it directly in The Simpsons, giving him the love-hate tattoos. When we just talked about that with Do the Right Thing last week, how that repurposed that scene. But I find it interesting how we've been talking about all those movies kind of blending that element of the religious sort of thing where it's like, what is the right side of it? How many different ways you can interpret it? And I think that this is the first movie probably where it's the most directly indicted of how religion can be used for the wrong things.
Yes, religion.
Yeah.
Or
is
or the
wrong thing.
the ideals,
Right.
right?
And that morality isn't just a two-way street, that there's
Yes.
multiple levels. Like,
Yeah.
yes, we have a bad person who did the right thing, but we still don't necessarily think he's a great guy. I'm
Right.
talking about Nick Nolte here.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that that's an interesting thing about the genre of this movie. I kind of tried to get at it earlier with the horror thing being prevalent, but I think this might almost be closer to a noir, even though it's definitely more like a bloated noir in its genre and its exploitation elements. But the idea being that like every single character is corrupt a bit. Like there's not really a good person through and through in this, whereas the original movie is definitely more about the I am good and only good, and I am
Good
evil
versus
and
evil.
only evil.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the Michael Myers thing came from, what I was trying to get to earlier. How he's a
Yeah.
force of nothing but evil, period. And I think that that is where there is validity in the De Niro one too. But I think no matter what the problem is with that comparison is just the personality part. I think that when you
Yes.
see Katie as a figure in the background, like I think that they use him more or less as an ominous, scary figure in the original Cape Fear, where like that scene where Bowden's daughter's being chased through the school or whatever that is.
Yeah.
God,
It's a
it's
very
so-
scary
Now
scene.
that is very intense.
Now,
Yeah.
oh,
She's
is it
also
a
not a
school?
very good
Yes.
hider.
It is a school.
It is a school.
Okay.
It's her school. She just
Interesting
walked
that
out
I
of the
think
school.
that in the original script, because I read some trivia for the remake of Cape Fear, that sequence with Juliette Lewis and De Niro in the theater at the high school was originally supposed to be a chase scene. So that would
Yeah.
make a lot of sense if they were literally just retooling that sequence
It was.
into something for the remake. But I think that it's funny because I was like, you can't. I thought that was my favorite scene in the whole movie, actually, as
Of-
far as the tension and like the direction.
It's the best in both movies, I think. The confrontation between Katie and the daughter, they are the peak of when it's the scariest, and it comes to the forefront of like what
most
Max
challenging on
Katie
screen
is,
too.
like, and just
You know what? Fucking yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like in the original, I think she's younger and she's running because it's the fear, the unknown fear of attack and of a man.
Yes.
And then in Scorsese's remake, which is why I think like this scene is when I really was like, I'm in this because it felt more, it's like the trappings of
Yes.
like the wolf in sheep's
Oh
clothing.
well, dude,
Yeah.
fucking, he was in Hansel and Gretel's house, the
Yes.
witch's house,
Literally.
Hansel and
It's
Gretel.
insane.
Yes.
That was the most insane thing I've ever watched.
I saw it, and then he comes out
Like,
and sits down and
kinda.
starts smoking a cigar, and is what the fuck is
And then
going
a
on?
joint.
Yeah, he was smoking
Oh,
weed,
yeah, he smoked
which
weed.
I missed the part where she said grass. So I was like, That's not weed. That's a cigarette.
Man, I'm bummed because remember when a long time ago, we were like, we need a picture of De Niro smoking weed for the podcast. It would definitely be better if we had one from a Sassy movie. We use the Jackie Brown still. We're not using this still.
Yeah, we don't want
No
Max
thanks.
Cady as our
In that scene
symbol.
too. No,
At
thank
least-
you.
At least in fucking
Okay, now I
Jackie
want to think
Brown,
about it.
De Niro gets his comeuppance, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, he does here.
I know, but he not before he fucking puts his fingers in a girl's mouth.
His thumb.
Gee.
All right, a thumb is not a
Did you
finger.
finish your thought?
I don't know. This is the craziest scene I've ever seen.
It's-
It's so perfectly done.
I read
It's
Jesse
that
can
was-
attest, I was screaming.
Yeah,
I
I
was like,
read that was 100% improvised.
Yeah, they did 3 takes, and that was the first take. I'm sure they talked about beforehand.
I don't think, based off of what a younger De Niro was with Taxi Driver, I'm sure that he was very like open with the lady. So it's
I
not
do
the
wanna
real life
say-
implications.
She was 18 years old.
No,
Yeah,
we discussed
we-
that while we were watching. I was like, how old?
I paused the movie to Google it. I was like,
I thought
I
she
literally have
looked
to know.
super young.
because there's a part where she's on the phone and like her shoulder strap is down. And I was like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But I can't tell if it's just like like she let her shoulder strap down like just in filming, and it's now it'd be even weirder for Scorsese to stop and go pick your shoulder strap up.
Don't
So-
you? I'm not putting you on
And then,
blast.
no, and I know. And then as I looked at that, I was like, fuck, like that is that's me.
I think
Like-
that's the point of
Yeah.
Scorsese's movie.
Yeah.
That everybody has like
Their
even
own
okay
take.
now I'm fucking feeling your maybe original is more Michael Myers because now I'm thinking that the point of Scorsese's movie is
To
it could be
complicate the morals.
anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Like it's not just the crazy evil man. Like this is most men
Yes.
in a lot of varying degrees. Most people are the Sam Bowden, which
Right.
like I never did anything.
What?
He's
But-
cheating on his wife. It's
You're
shit like that.
crazy.
Or is he? It doesn't matter.
But she said it, didn't she?
Yeah, I think it's probably supposed to stay ambiguous.
Yeah,
Because
I think
I
that's
could
a little
ma-
ambiguous.
I think we can make the argument that she's saying both things.
Yeah. Yes. I guess
And that's
I heard
weird.
slept with him, and then he was the first, and I was like, oh, so the less is very important.
Yeah.
Than the less you think, which is just like fuck you, Scorsese, or fuck you, whoever wrote this, because that's very specific.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of the writer, whose name I believe,
two
well, no,
credited.
there's
Joshua
not,
Hartnett.
The other writer that's credited is the original screenplay writer.
Oh, then it's Wesley.
Wesley Strick.
Snipes.
So Wesley Strick had only written 2 other movies prior to this. The only one I knew of was Arachnophobia, which
Nice.
is generally regarded as not so great. But he never really went on to write anything else that was like of particular note after this either, except for, ironically, Doom, the video game adaptation, and
Like which one?
another remake, one of the worst I've ever seen, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Which like the 2000s Nightmare on Elm?
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
Oh,
The movie that introduced Rooney Mara to the world. Kind of.
Really?
I mean, like, that was the first time I saw her.
The
for sure.
only. Wow, I think I've seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street with like Johnny Depp, and then
Yes.
I've seen
You haven't seen
Freddy,
2, right?
Freddy versus Jason, and I think that's it. And I don't think I've seen Friday the 13th.
Hey,
I
man,
might have said that earlier.
I've never
need-
seen Friday the 13th.
It's not good. We
I've seen
need to
Freddy versus
watch
Jason.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. It must be done.
Yes.
It is
You-
an essential
you
film.
mentioned it a while ago.
It is my favorite of the series.
Yes.
It's great.
I co-sign everything you said.
Also,
so
nothing to do with
good.
anything on the pod, but I looked at the description for A Drink Your Blood. Looks fucking lit.
Oh, yeah, man.
Looks fucking lit.
It sounds fucking. Oh, I've seen it, and it's crazy. But reading the plot again, I was like, Jesus, that all
yeah,
happens?
that's
I forgot
crazy.
about that movie. My God. Maybe I'm going to like it more. But anyway, we're going to watch I Drink Your Blood soon.
Got it.
So also wrote Nightmare on Elm Street remake, which is hilarious given that he writes 2 like remakes distinctively, one at the beginning and the end of his career. Because I don't think he's written much since A Nightmare on Elm Street either, and you can back check me on that. So kind of starts and ends
I'm
with
off his page.
a pretty good one and a shitty one.
He's done 2 movies since The Loft, and he's worked on The Man in the High Castle.
Oh, I
The
heard
Loft.
The Loft is bad, but I've heard good things about The Man in the High Castle. From what I
Yeah.
remember, it sounds crazy. But interestingly enough, I remember reading Scorsese read the script and didn't like it. Like he wasn't a fan, especially the fact that the Sam Bowden character was written virtually the same
Yeah.
as he was in the original version, just as like force of good, moral correctness, whatever. But now Scorsese was like, this is like the quintessential happy suburban American family in the original Cape Fear and this new script. I want this family to be absolutely fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So that's where his touch kind of comes in at the front. And I think you had brought this up when we were talking, or we kind of got into this when we talked about Juliette Lewis, but I think when we talked about the younger thing, that one line, which must come in that first 30 minutes that Frank, you have said is abhorrent.
Yes, I'll talk about that in a second.
So Juliette Lewis comes in after they're yelling at Jessica Lange and Nick Nolte are yelling at each other about something about Max Cady, and then fucking Juliette Lewis walks in and is just like, what's going on? Just like at the worst possible time, like to just add the note of, you are a young daughter. I don't know. Like it just seemed like it was purposefully, almost like satirically trying to point out how young she was.
Yes.
And like
What?
on
Yeah.
the nose purposefully.
Yes,
Why are
they
you
have
guys
Probably why,
fighting?
also like you were
Yeah.
talking about, if they sexualized her character at all, it's definitely for that
Like
same
you
purpose.
can't. Sorry, to be specific, you can't sexualize a teenager. Like a teenager can't sexualize herself. That is a projection of you thing.
Yes.
So like,
There is
if you view something as sexual, that is because you view it as sexual. There's nothing that is inherently sexual because everything's different.
there is validity and understanding that there's sexuality in young people.
Yes.
And that is to not be misconstrued.
I mean, hey, Sassy made a movie with a child
Which-
prostitute, not about a child prostitute.
Yes, which
And
is
I
what
think that is very like. I thought that was a good, like, out of that whole movie, that was like the only thing where I was like, that isn't terrible what you've done here. Because for a lot of people,
I think it's real smart.
I don't think people could have like put a character like Iris in the movie and not like dragged her through the fucking dirt. They're like, well, if she's a fucking child prostitute, we got to make her life literally the worst. Otherwise, how are they gonna know? And it's like there's just a bunch of little things that you only see like at very like sparing increments
Yeah.
throughout the movie where
Yeah.
you get the idea of what her life is, and it's like,
You
oh,
get glimpses, just like
Oh,
Travis, enough to build a picture.
Just like
Yes.
Julia Lewis.
That too.
What's her character name? We keep saying Danielle
Danielle.
Bowden.
Yeah.
I think what you just started talking about is what I latched onto. I'm pretty sure I messaged you guys. I'm like, this is literally like if De Palma and Lynch made a movie, but Scorsese was directing.
I got the De Palma, no doubt. Like that's obvious.
Because I think what you're just tapping into, the like weird theatrics that start the movie that build these characters, definitely felt more Lynchian and like the acting and stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, okay. But then it reminded me of Blue Velvet, the suburban,
I can see that, no doubt, yes.
the protectiveness, which
Well, I
is
think
coming
that-
into the anti these family morals, where it's like if being an overprotective parent, pretending like there's nothing wrong in the world, shielding her from reality, not
Yes.
engaging her like she's a human being, that's going to lead you to more trouble because
The
that's
theater
what
scene.
lays
I mean,
her
if
into
you're-
Katie's lap,
If you're thinking about it, the movie opens with Juliette Lewis's narration,
which was awful.
so
I literally was like, this is going to be a
if
bad
you're
movie.
thinking of it from that perspective, she's like the
It ends
eyes
with
and
her,
narration of the
too.
movie. I know. And literally it ends on her eyes.
Yes.
So like she's the eyes of the movie. She's the perspective.
Well, she's the one who's tormented for the rest of her
Yes,
life. She
yes.
has to remember that she fell in love with Max Cady.
Yes.
Like
Literally,
cool.
also, funny enough, Juliette Lewis claims she got a crush on De Niro filming the scene that we've talked about.
I mean, if you know it's pretend, it's Robert De Niro. He puts his thumb in your mouth.
and you know that that's not pretend. I mean, it's pretend, but it was improv.
I mean, I'd be like, "What's up, Bobby?"
What was that, dude?
It's
I
the
mean,
same,
I'm not.
the
Never
same
mind.
principle as what I just recently watched Husbands, and we're not going to talk about it today, but I just want to bring it up. The same thing where it's like these are all shitty, horrible people the entire movie, and yet because I see John, Ben, and Peter,
Yeah,
I can have a little fun sometimes.
yeah, the same concept of with De Niro on set.
Yes, it's a
But-
movie, but it's real life.
So
It's
like,
real life, but it's a movie.
I didn't like the first. Like it might have even been like 40 minutes when it was like full De Palma and everything was excessive and
It was
ridiculous.
kind of insane how
The
I literally
negative
said
stuff.
to you, Frank, that they should have taken, or I'm surprised that it didn't cycle through the process of this movie originally being given to Scorsese by Spielberg, who was supposed to direct this.
And then he said it's too violent.
Yeah, it makes no fucking sense for Spielberg at all.
Yeah.
And then it does make some semblance of sense for Sessi. That was a lot of
it makes
S's.
sense.
And makes beautiful sense for De Palma.
Yes.
Stylistically.
Yes.
But I do think that, like, as far as the story and everything is concerned, not necessarily, but that's why I think it might have lied in Sessi's hands.
Which
why
is
Sessi took it on. Because you
also
think he
why-
would have given it over.
I think it gets better as it goes along. Like the
Mhm.
first half hour is just like the excess fest where it feels like empty stylistics because Scorsese had a budget. Scorsese had a budget.
Mhm.
Scorsese had a budget and just wanted to have fun is kind of what it felt like at first. And then like and same thing with like the characters and like I think even De Niro's way more silly in the beginning, which is probably to keep you a little off guard for when he gets real fucking scary.
Yeah.
But I think like honestly, I think until the first attack against Nick Nolte's assistant
Yes.
that we were just debating about, which is 30 minutes into the movie. I think that's when I'm like, this movie is finding its rhythm. Like I'm now on board where it doesn't feel cheesy and ridiculous. And that's when I think it becomes more a Scorsese movie and like his own exploring his own ideas that connect with him. Like we've already touched upon.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to see him really go hard about the like hypocrisy of law.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like we I know we brought it up, but like this is the first time he's touched on a lot of these themes this directly
Like,
at the very least.
directly.
And
The
it's
word rape is mentioned, like
Yes.
verbatim, like rape. It happens.
It's mentioned in Who's That Knocking at My Door too, for the record.
Who's
Oh,
that
yeah.
knocking at my door? Oh,
Yeah.
his very first movie.
yes.
Hmm.
So this definitely it feels like it could be an improvement on that, and him maybe actually figuring out how to
Yeah.
articulate these
Building upon his
ideas.
statement.
But see, I think that he falls into the same trappings of De Palma, ironically, with this, where the scenes in which he depicts violence and stuff are so fucking brutal
Yeah.
and so upsetting that it's hard to, like, or for some to justify the use of it, you know, to go that hard.
I don't think it ever goes too far.
I don't think so either, but again, I know that I'm very desensitized to a lot of that kind of stuff in movies and things. Like I'm sure that this would be very hard for
When
certain
I
people to
think
watch.
it definitely, but like when I think about
That final scene is upsetting.
is it? Yes, it is. I'm just kidding. Yes, of course it is. I guess when you say final scene, I'm thinking when he like kills him.
Oh well, no, I
which,
mean
like,
like
that's
the whole
nah, but the in the
Katie on
boat.
the boat.
Yeah,
Ugh.
no, that was terrifying. I was like, what's literally going to happen? Anything goes. I don't know how far is he going to take this shit? Like,
Well,
what's going to
yeah,
happen?
once
When
we
he's
got to
the
the-
fucking flare.
Oh,
Yes.
He's just letting
When
the
he
ooze
burn
all
him.
over his hand.
See, like the stylistic things like that, because now you have the red smoke puffing around this evil man's face. I was like, well, that shit's cool and feels integrated and like it's propelling something. Where like it felt like empty stylistics in the first half hour with like the fireworks going off while they're having sex and stuff, and then all those like weird random Hitchcock cuts where she's like looking in the mirror and putting on her lipstick, and then Katie's watching and she has to
And
look
the
through
fades
every
through
blind for
colors
some
and
reason.
Stuff.
Like just to believe he's there. I was like, this is too much. Let's calm it down. But
The fireworks being almost a literal De Palma rip.
it was. That's when it was like, oh,
Blowout.
calm down, please. But
Another movie that judges the hypocrisy of law in our system.
this is not Ballhouse, is it?
No, this is his first one out with him.
In a while. Is this
since,
who
since
is it?
After Hours?
Freddie
It's Freddie Francis who
Francis?
did The Innocents.
An Elephant Man.
Straight story.
And Dune. Lots of Lynch. But this is the only collab with Scorsese. Pretty good stuff, except when it's being ridiculous. Like it still looks good. Actually, I never liked any of the Sky things.
I just thought
that
they were
always
very
looked-
Thunder and
weird
the
choice. I
lightning.
mean, it's like I like the idea maybe, but it just looks very.
Yeah.
Spy Kids. That's what we said in the
Well,
beginning.
no, that the De Niro walking at
Yes.
the camera felt like a
Yes.
Robert Rodriguez shot.
That was
Like the introduction of the zany villain.
I
Nope,
literally
this is a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then the zoom on him in the red car. It's like, oh, he's
Oh yeah, that whole
evil.
scene and everything.
it's so it's silly.
Yeah. No, I mean, I will say that like a thing that maybe helped me get through the movie because of all the really fucked up implications for both of them was just like how goofy Max Cady was sometimes. Like sometimes, like in both versions, I was just like, like
Okay.
he's Froghorn Leghorn. Like that's
I-
all I hear when I hear him talk.
I
Well, I do
personally
declare, Counsel, Caesar.
I feel like in the original, if there was times of humor, it felt more intentional
Yeah.
to me personally. Where in
Mm.
Scorsese's, I'm like, I just think this is bad. Like I think you guys are going for it, and like thanks for trying, but not
Yeah.
exactly. You're not quite there.
I don't know. It felt like something specific with like De Niro. I don't know. It just felt like he was trying to be too much like the old Max, like with what's his name, Robert Mitchum.
Yes.
Yeah.
It felt like he was trying to be sort of like Robert Mitchum's Max Cady with the way that he was speaking and stuff. But like I
I
don't know, it
hated
just
De
wasn't.
Niro's
It
voice.
wasn't. It wasn't hitting the same.
Hated it.
It wasn't until late. He kind of like drops it like halfway through, where he's just like, "Nah, I'm
He
gonna
drops it
I'm
a
gonna
lot.
be I'm gonna be my thing." But then every now and then he'd be like, "Oh yeah, about that." Like it makes him hard to understand sometimes.
He can barely speak, but I think that's kind of
But
intentional
yeah.
because I don't think he's supposed to come from like
He's supposed to have been illiterate.
education and all that. Yeah. So it makes sense, but also I think that it is that thing where it's almost like a play and it's an English actor dipping into their accent a lot where you can just hear normal De Niro talking a lot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense.
I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't notice that too much. Honestly, I just thought his voice was silly. And maybe I stopped thinking it was silly when he wasn't doing it, but I
think
wasn't
it's-
paying enough attention to realize it was coming in and out.
I just loved the way that the way that Robert Mitchum said things like stuck with me afterwards. Like
Yes.
I don't know, like specifically, you know, when
You're
he's
a fan.
when he's on the pier, it sucks. And when he's on the pier, and not Nick Nolte, who's the other guy?
Gregory Peck.
When Gregory Peck approaches him and he says that really fucked up line about Gregory Peck's daughter, and he just gets to smacking on him. Then he goes, "Why? Did you all see that? I didn't do a thing to the man. He just put his hands on me." Like the way he says it, it's just like,
and
oh
it's
my
even, like,
God.
in the remake version of that scene,
which is the
it's
parade.
so crazy. Where
It
like
is
he just
way more
fucking
intense.
loses. Oh, again, July 4th blowout parades,
Yeah.
like 2. Like what the fuck,
Yeah,
Sassy?
tying
How
it
could you?
into the American history.
Are you
It's
just
white men taking
Part of me
things.
almost thinks that it's Sassy rubbing his nose in his friend's face, like, ha ha, like, I'm better than you, and people like me better.
This
and
movie
British
will
like me
make more
better, and
money
I
than
can do
all
your
your
thing, and
movies.
everyone will tell me that I'm better. But I definitely not.
I
that.
do say I think
I don't know. I like it more
Scorsese
than most.
Scorsese looked
No,
at
that's-
the
I'm saying.
he looked at the original script for Cape Fear, and then he looked at the script that they originally handed him for Cape Fear, and then he took a big old pile of dirt and he went smack. Yeah.
Well, I
That's
think-
better.
Let's
I
get
think
grimy.
that's the thing that I like about Sassy is he does integrate himself into every script. Like, no, I don't know for sure if this is true, but I would have to imagine practically every single Scorsese screenplay is not exact to the movie. There's just no way.
Correct. I've seen that confirmed almost every time we've researched any movie. Just
Right.
like he tinkers with the script. He like as they're filming and stuff, and also beforehand. Like I'm pretty sure every script he gets, he goes like, "This is doo doo. Let me make it better."
I don't
Just so
know
you
why-
know,
said
this is
doo-doo.
only a draft. That's
I-
the final. This is only a draft. I'm not done.
I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's a great commercial with Martin Scorsese where he
I saw you retweeted. I didn't get to look at it though.
where he goes into like a photo development shop. It's a commercial for
like
like
I've
the
seen
photo
this.
store, like the developing thing, whatever.
Yeah.
It's a commercial for whatever they're pushing, and it's just Martin Scorsese flipping through pictures from his son's or daughter's birthday, whatever, and he's like, "Oh, Marty, this is so bad. Like,
Yes.
your composition here is so terrible." And then he's like, "Oh, great shot, good job, Marty." And he will literally say, "Good job, Marty." I loved it so much. It's the cutest thing.
I have.
But what I
seen
thought
that.
was hilarious was that I read something, and it may have even been in that tweet that I posted, where he said, or it was somebody who worked with him talking about watching that commercial and being like, "It's so funny because that is him." Like that every single shot in the editing room, he's like, "This is garbage." Like that's how he is. So it's
Good
funny
job,
how
Marty.
self-deprecating he is, and also probably braggadocious in times that he loves what he did.
I think
What do you
you're
mean? My movie's
describing
fucking great.
the essence of good artist.
Can we review that Curb episode, or at least the scene where fucking
Scorsese.
Scorsese jumps in for a sec?
Yes.
It's great.
Did
Let's
you
do a
show
whole
me that?
episode
I
about
had
it.
to have, man. It's so good. But anyway, we think that De Niro's accent's silly, like just a consensus, like not great
Yeah.
overall. All of us here at the
Yeah.
Chronic Canon.
Yeah.
Frank, say it.
De Niro's
All of us.
Yes.
De Niro's accent is not in the canon.
No.
Funny enough that Scorsese was horrified of his accent. It really unsettled him, and De
I mean-
Niro would intentionally call his house late at night and talk in the voice and leave him messages and shit.
If you've
Same thing happened with Daniel Day-Lewis on Gangs of New York, too.
if you've been friends with somebody for 20 years and all of a sudden they're playing a serial rapist and they're constantly talking to you in a southern accent, your very Italian best friend, I would also be unnerved. I'd be like, "What? This is a little weird for me, Bob. Can you stop? When we're talking, can you stop doing the accent?" Nah, say, Marty. No.
I'll do declare, counselor. No, I just imagine him picking up the phone and just going, Bobby, stop this. Enough.
Is this helping your character? You know it is.
And then Joe Pesci was sitting with him like
I think Joe Pesci was
Let me
off on
back
his own,
in.
being like, "You guys suck."
he was on.
I
making
hate
his,
movies.
He was
was
making his
pissed?
album and his rap song.
Bro, I was bumping some songs.
We're
dude.
gonna talk about that more in depth when we get to Casino.
We
Okay.
will. Because
I
he,
think that's more
he deserves
appropriate.
a shout out.
Does
Okay.
wise guy.
I'm
Anyway,
a wise guy.
so Yeah, Scorsese was afraid of De Niro's accent and things. Well, and like I
I mean,
said,
he is scary.
Yes.
I'm not
well,
taking
the
that
per-
the performance.
If I met him in real
overall-
life, I promise you I wouldn't be laughing at his voice.
no. I think because
It's
we know
because it's De Niro.
Yes.
It's because we're looking at the man. How does
Only
this-
2 more De Niros before it's done.
Yes. And how does this compare thus far? I feel like we've checked in every De Niro movie.
I think this is definitely on my lower totem pole for his performances.
I don't. Okay, I don't know why I proposed this question. I don't even fucking know like how I would rank them, and I feel like my opinion changes day by day. But I feel like it's pretty strong when you look at the scope of it.
I don't
and,
think
like,
he's had a poor performance in any Martin Scorsese movie yet.
I feel like
Poor, no.
definitely not poor.
Underutilized, underperformed. No, not underperformed.
Well, I'm
if
saying that
anything.
because I know my
Goodfellas?
my
I'm thinking-
perceptions
I'm
are
think-
different.
I don't know. It's just like very early on before he really got comfortable being in front of a camera. Like Johnny Boy, I love the energy and I love the character, but like his performance is like
What do you mean?
not the best.
Wrong.
What? He could have played. Imagine. Well, I guess there's no imagining.
Yeah, I was going
Like-
to say Johnny
like-
Boy's one
like
of his
Johnny
better
Boy-
performances. And
Johnny-
you also said that was your favorite.
Yeah.
It is my
it's-
favorite. I'm not saying you think because it's my favorite, it's technically his like most technical best. No.
Well, that's not what we're talking. We're talking.
Then why'd you even bring it up?
Because we're talking favorite.
No. Well, we're talking Sassy.
Because we're talking best, it's obviously Raging Bull. Like you
Yeah.
literally can't dispute that. Like that is
Yes.
acting.
Yes.
Like if you were gonna teach acting, it's like I don't know, just watch Raging Bull. What
Thus
the,
far, right?
if I was,
Like if you're talking about the grandiose, yes.
it's both.
Okay.
You would show.
Looking
I would
at both
show
the
Raging
big
Bull
and
and
the
Irishman
small.
to be
Yes.
like, this is what you do when you are the lead of your movie and a frothing animal, and this is what you and when you want to go big, and this is what you do when you want to be the best scene partner in any movie in the history of all time.
Yes.
Which is why I think that's the best.
You're
Like,
right.
but we're
Still
not there
give
yet.
a towering
best
performance.
scene
Yes.
partner.
Like,
I've never heard it put like that, but like yes, that is like
That's what it
his
is.
ultimate role.
You've never
in the
seen
He's
Irishman.
propping everybody up.
better. Yes. There's never been a more active listener in a movie. Which Jimmy? No. He told me not to tell you. What?
Can't
His
go
like
too deep. Can't go too deep.
genuine reactions to everything. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
The Irishman's coming.
But Cape Fear, not even, man. We got so many.
I know.
All right, 12 more.
I thought it was 11.
12.
We'll still
I
be
think
in
about 12
COVID by
birds.
the time Sessy's
Whoa.
done, so think of it that way.
All right, fair. I think Max Cady falls closer to like a Jake LaMotta, obviously,
Oh,
than
yeah.
a Jimmy Conway or Frank
Sheeran.
Sheeran. Is it Sheeran?
It's Sheeran.
Like Ed?
Yes. It's Frank Sheeran.
I wanted to say that, but I was like, that can't be right. I have to be missing.
Ed's Irish too, unfortunately.
Ed
I only
Sheeran
say
Go
unfortunately
back
because I don't
to
like
Ireland.
Ed's music. Sorry, Ed.
Yeah, your music.
I went to Ed
Seemed like a
Sheeran
nice guy.
concert when I was a sophomore in high school.
Why?
Cute girl. That's it.
Yes. He was. Sorry, I tried.
I just thought you were gonna lead up.
He didn't even smoke anything. That's just straight
It was liquid. It was liquid going down there on
straight
pipe.
Arizona.
Straight Arizona.
Not a plug.
Watermelon is a plug. I'm just
Watermelon is a plug?
kidding. No, watermelon, Arizona. God damn it! This is the worst episode ever.
Smoke
You know, I actually will stand by that.
Light it on fire. Listen, okay, hold on. He was Oscar nominated for Cape Fear. So
De Niro?
yes, and Juliette Lewis,
The
which
Academies are idiots.
yes, but Juliette Lewis deserved. Literally incredible. That's the daughter. De Niro's. I ain't mad. He got nominated.
No.
I ain't mad.
Well,
Who else
what
was
are
he
the
going
other
against
ones?
that year?
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know why I
important.
brought this up. I have to look things up. Oh my God. We know who won.
No, I'm saying who else was nominated?
91. Who won? Hopkins. Silence of the Lambs. How
Dumb.
weird that the two of them are in the same goddamn category. Like Nick
Ultimate
Nolte
evil characters?
was nominated for The Prince of Tides.
Interesting.
Robin Williams was for The Fisher King, and Warren Beatty for Bugsy.
See, I would definitely have given it to either
I mean Hopkins.
Hopkins wins. That was the
For sure.
right choice by the Academy
Yes.
of those 5.
It happens
But
sometimes.
Robin Williams comes next. He's amazing in
never
that
seen
movie.
The Fisher
He is the whole
He's
reason you
always
should watch that
amazing.
movie.
Come on.
He's amazing.
He's he's close.
will like The Fisher King, I think.
I'm sure I will.
You might like him.
I
You should
don't-
watch it sometime.
I
It's a
don't
good
like
Are
movie.
you
Benny
saying that
Gilliams.
Robin Williams is an actor
That's a movie
who
my
does
mom tried to get me
great
to watch.
in
for
every
years.
movie he's in? Is that why you looked at me like that?
Yes.
Oh, another one.
I wouldn't
Another one.
disparage against that.
I
Because
mean,
I like Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Philip Seymour Hoffman called me fat. I'm kidding. I like Philip Seymour Hoffman too. Don't
Thank
look at
you.
me like
Real
that.
quick aside, saw the Mission Impossible 3 scene today where Philip Seymour Hoffman counts down from 10. Scariest shit I've ever
Scary
seen
shit.
in my
You'll,
life. Scarier than the
did
whole
you
of
know
Cape
that's
Fear.
the opening?
Yes.
What?
That's why I watched it.
Literally the craziest thing I'd ever
It's
seen when I
the
first turned it on.
craziest thing. Philip at all like levels.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure that's the first Mission Impossible I saw, and I was like, I must not know what's going on because I haven't seen the other two.
It's
Turns
a flash
out
forward, right?
That's not, yeah.
Okay, I had
And
to
then
assume.
turns out that's not the case, but it was literally the most gripping opening where I'm like, well, I'm watching this now. I don't care
I
if
remember
I haven't seen the
I
first
watched
two.
Mission Impossible 1, Mission Impossible 2, and then started 3 and didn't finish it because I thought there was a really bad scene that involved Aaron Paul, and I just wasn't involved. I wasn't in it.
Interesting.
I didn't want to do it
But
at
the
that
opening.
time. But the opening.
It was
Ugh.
incredible.
But then I saw the other ones, and still not 3. So I've seen all the Mission Impossibles except for 3. And 3 is the one that has the continuing through line with Michelle Monaghan and shit.
Yes.
So it's so fucking
which I didn't
funny.
realize that was her introduction. That's what I meant. I
Yeah.
assumed she was the love interest of the first two, and when I discovered that wasn't the case, I was very confused.
Yeah.
But
I've only seen Mission Impossible 1, so I have no idea what you
We're
guys are
gonna
talking
Let's
do 'em.
watch
about.
We're gonna do them.
can I too? I
Yeah,
watched the
please.
first one.
Can I
Yeah,
too?
join in.
It's not good.
Come watch Mission Impossible 2. John Woo.
John Woo.
Woo.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. I'm just remember this. I shouldn't have brought this back. I'm so sorry, you guys. But I'm pretty sure I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance first
That's funny.
before Die Hard. I'm pretty sure.
Have you seen Die Hard with a
Excuse me?
Vengeance, Brandon?
I think I've seen all the Die Hards except for the last one that came out with his son.
Same.
Okay, good. Because I just thought that Samuel L. Jackson should have been a continued partner for the rest of the series
Yes.
after that.
They're
He integrated himself so well. It was
They-
so good.
Oh,
it rules.
It might honestly be as good
Wait
as
a
the
minute.
original Die
No.
Hard. Man.
Jesse,
Okay,
Jesse,
okay,
slow down.
okay.
Dude,
Here's a
hold
bit
on.
of a problem.
It's literally amazing,
Okay.
but it's not Die Hard.
Here's a bit of a problem. As soon as you said that, and I was like, yeah, let me just list what happens in all the movies in my head. First one takes place in a skyscraper.
Yep.
Sure. But then immediately, when I started trying to think of With a Vengeance, I was like, I'm thinking of Lethal Weapon. I'm thinking of Lethal Weapon. I'm
Hey.
thinking of Lethal Weapon. With the bombs across New York.
No, that's Die Hard with a Vengeance.
With going to the phone booths.
Yes.
Yes.
And calling.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Simon
so
Says.
good, man.
And
It's
two,
so good.
and two's at the airport, and four's the whole
Yes.
country with
Four's
the fire sale,
The hacking
Yeah.
and shit.
and then
it's his
five,
daughter.
Who cares?
Russia.
I don't know about
Russia.
5, but
Russia
I
with
Two
his
just
is the
son.
planes.
I remember seeing 4 in theaters, and the part where he shoots himself through the shoulder. Spoiler alert! Shoots himself to the through the shoulder and goes yippee ki motherfucker!
Yeah, but they bleeps out the fucker with the gunshot, and I remember screaming in the theater. Okay,
That's
I
so
probably didn't
annoying.
scream, but I did
Is
audibly
the unrated
groan.
version have the motherfucker?
Yes.
Cool.
That's the reason you watch the unrated.
Yes.
like the
Why,
only
it's like
thing.
what? It's Die Hard. You're really gonna do this?
Didn't
It's
they make a
fucking
Good
Bruce
Day to Die
Willis.
Hard after that?
Didn't they? What?
An R? Isn't Good Day to Die Hard an R? Because if it is, then they just doubled down and fucked up even harder.
Yeah, because there's a whole part where like the guy gets like gouged with a pipe.
Die Harder, fucked up even harder.
Yes, it's R.
Fucking idiots.
Should we watch it?
No.
Should we do all the Die Hard movies?
That'd be fun.
It'd be
Christmas
fun until
special.
then. It'd be
yeah,
fun
but
until
4
then.
out of 5 is pretty
All
good.
of December, Die Hard.
Yeah,
Nice.
and we
could
just
literally
don't
do
watch
it.
the 5th.
No, we watch them in reverse order.
So it gets
Ends on Die Hard on
Uh,
Christmas.
okay.
Okay, so back to the movie.
Oh, yeah.
1991's Oscars were a whirlwind because Anthony Hopkins played Hannibal Lecter.
Wait,
and
who
won.
won supporting actress? Who beat Juliette Lewis?
That I
'Cause
don't know.
she-
You're the one with the
Yeah,
computer.
I'm getting there. I was like trying to prop myself
Rhetorical
because
question. I
you
see.
guys didn't.
Yes.
You're
Well, I
supposed
don't
to
know
go
anything about.
I'm propping
this
you up,
guy.
man. I'm sorry. I should be the best listening partner there is.
Mercedes Rule from The Fisher King.
So the Fisher King brought home 2 Oscars.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's cool.
Just one.
That's
Oh,
cool.
Robert Williams.
And then the other
Good
people:
movie.
Diane Ladd for Rambling Rose, Kate Nelligan for The Prince of Tides, and Jessica Tandy for Fried Green Tomatoes. And then Juliette Lewis. So I
Fried Green
recognize-
Tomatoes, another movie my mom still wants me to see.
Wait, what did we say? Are we saying it's lower tier? I don't think it's lower tier. De Niro.
Personally,
It's
it's
not
lower
lower
tier De Niro in the Sassy canon, but that's also not saying a lot given
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's
have
not saying a lot.
a lot of movies.
I
And
guess
he's not
I
wouldn't
horrible
say
in
it's
any of the movies.
better than any of the other ones.
It's not top 3.
This
Like,
is-
literally tell me which one it's better than.
I know. Well, I've been debating almost saying Goodfellas, and I keep stopping myself because that's another one where he's an excellent scene partner,
Subdued.
and
Very
he's
restrained.
subdued. But there's like those.
I love his performance in Goodfellas, man. It's
I
so
do like it
nuanced.
a ton, and it is nuanced.
'Cause
And
when
I'm
he
not trying to
pops, he
discredit
pops.
it. I'm not trying to discredit it. But then after seeing The Irishman, I feel like I'm just like, this is weak.
Yeah.
This is
This is
weak.
you can do better.
No, but
That's
he's
unfair.
but he's the lead. In the
Listen,
other two. That's
Tyler.
what's even
No.
more impressive.
But they function like the same.
Yeah.
They feel like similar characters.
Okay.
To me. I don't know.
Jimmy's
No,
a bit
it's
more off
probably
the
not-
rails, and he's
probably not
definitely more
better than-
unhinged and like personable.
You all think that Jimmy Doyle was a better performance than this?
No, that's what I
I
was about to
don't,
say.
That's
But I
is
know
that-
you do.
That you
Is
guys
that
suck.
I would put this
is that the
above
wo-
Jimmy Doyle.
It's my least favorite.
Though, like I said,
Sorry.
New York's like maybe I didn't say it. I think you've already called me out on the pod, but I don't know. I'd probably go back to New York soon, ish,
I'm shocked that you've said that.
just to be like, all right, I think I might have given you guys a bad rap. I'll try again.
I mean, I'll definitely watch it again at some point. I just don't.
I feel like of all the movies
After I watch La La Land,
of all the movies
Have
we've
fun.
watched thus far, pretending like Goodfellas doesn't exist, I think New York's the one I'm most excited to see again.
Okay.
But I mean, Goodfellas is always the one. Where it's like, throw it on.
Weirdly enough, I'm actually jacked for Color of Money round 2.
yeah, I would be.
But I think that's probably
Yes!
because I was so shocked that it was as good as it was.
Okay, we should. let me read the thing. This is the worst seg in the history of our pod. But I'm gonna just start reading things that I want to read because we're running out of the Cape Fear steam. It feels
Well,
we are diverting away.
I did want to just point out too that Thelma's
Please.
editing is dope.
Yeah,
she's
does a
still
great
doing
job.
it.
Oh,
yeah, she
Thelma,
does it every single
movie.
one since Raging Bull on. She's all of them.
This is the
Good
first
job.
time he's departed from Ball House since After Hours.
yes,
Goodfellas is the last one he did with him. Now he's using Freddie Francis of
Just this
the
movie.
Innocence fame, and this
Yeah.
is the only movie he works with him on.
Yes, I don't know who's Age of Innocence.
Age of Innocence, I want to say is Ball House too.
Does he come back?
Yeah, but I
It
know
is
that
Ball House.
Casino is Robert Richardson.
Right, that's right. Oh, he tried to get
he
Richardson for Cape
auditioned.
Fear.
Can you believe? I never even thought about that because I have never made a movie in a truly professional environment.
hmm
Do you have to audition cinematographers? Because it said auditioned.
Who knows? If
That's
you're not like a
nuts.
name,
I mean, he shot JFK. He shot all Oliver Stone
that's
shit.
true.
Was JFK out by 91? No.
Yeah.
Was
no,
it?
Well, Casino's
No.
95.
I know. I'm saying that he auditioned for the role. I'm like, JFK's your audition, baby. That shit fucking.
It came out in 91.
Oh, okay.
So
well,
he-
that would make sense then.
he
He
probably
wasn't
went and
there
did
yet. They
that
made it in
instead.
90 or made it in early 91. I don't know. But still, I think it's important to note Freddie Francis simply because he's another iconic, legendary cinematographer that Scorsese's now added to his canon of people to work with. Even though, like we said, he never works with him again. But I do think that he does do really interesting things visually here. Definitely pulling from other people a lot. I think that the De Palma comparisons are the most accurate, but I think you could just break that down further to a definite influence on him, which is Hitchcock.
I think I've specifically said De Palma because De Palma is also just Hitchcock stylized heavily.
that's where I was going
and
to say
that's
that.
but I think it's closer to De Palma's riff than it is to actually
Because
doing
it's
a
the
riff
sleazy
on-
exploitation.
Right.
look.
That's fair. That's fair.
And
That's
Bernard Herrmann's score is like,
Yeah.
I know that he is, or De Palma has used Bernard Herrmann directly once before, or a couple times. It was Sassy that used him once.
with,
De Palma used him on
Taxi Driver.
Sisters and Obsession. And Obsession was his final score that he ever wrote. Then De Palma goes on to work with Pino Donaggio, and Pino Donaggio basically just does his riff on Herman for a lot of De Palma's movies.
Mhm.
And I think that it's interesting using that here. And then, like you said, like that one scene in particular towards the beginning where Jessica Lange is putting makeup on in the mirror. It almost just felt like they were trying to do Vertigo with the
Yes.
different colors fading in and out, transition shots. I really liked a lot of the superimposed transitions that would run throughout this. And I loved that one shot that I've seen it like the screen grab, but the introduction of the Cape Fear town sign.
Oh, that is a good one.
Oh, it's so
That's a fun
good.
one.
He utilizes that water effect a lot, but I think that must have came from Saul and the Lame Bass.
I think that the movie integrated better as it went on, and when it calms down a bit, its stylistic choices pop even harder.
Yes.
Personally, I think.
Yeah.
But also, I feel like we haven't acknowledged that this is weirdly Scorsese's most plot-oriented movie. Like,
Yes.
to this point.
To
Like,
this point, for
like
sure.
literally by far, even though not that much plot still happens. It's mostly just like Max Cady's running around and he fucks with them, and then they get upset, and there's like that back and forth for a while.
And I think that's the only reason Sassy made it is because he complicated the characters.
Yes. Because he focused in on them as characters a little bit more,
And that's
which is why it's longer.
And that's why I kind of like the original more, simply because I do like the idea of complicating the characters and complicating the narrative more then I like the idea of just the plain simple narrative.
Yes.
However, I think the original was far more effective in what it was trying to do, in that it truly made me feel unsettled and unease, like throughout the entire movie, even though like it's obvious that you'd be unsettled in Sassy's version.
Yeah.
He forces you to be unsettled almost. But not all the time. There are definitely scenes where he earns it like they do in the original, but the original is riding on literally having to censor most everything that Sassy uses in the brutal scenes and like all that shit. Like that school scene I was talking about is like classic, almost like Jacques Turner, Val Lewton style, like just pure suspense, terror, horror, where you can't know what's going to happen and it's just something is coming and you got to run, and it's really, really good stuff. But
Yes.
I don't remember where my ultimate point was going with that.
Well, I'm gonna hop in then and say that I really wanted to watch the original, and I wanted to say about it that I was nervous that once you've seen a Stalker movie, you've basically seen them all. Was my conception. I'm like, oh, and now we have to watch two close together. I
back.
was like, this is gonna be annoying. I think that's one reason the original kind of like basically blew me away, because I was like, holy shit, this caught me off guard. It was not what I expected it to be. This is very like methodically driven
Right.
and feels a danger that's more palpable than it usually is in those stories.
Yes.
And then to my further surprise, I still felt a freshness in Scorsese's version. Like
Yes.
as
No, I
much
definitely do.
as similar as it is, it does feel like his own film. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, by the end, I'd say it does feel like a Scorsese movie to me. And I think I said to Brandon on the phone earlier, we were talking because we were talking about work, but I think the movie should have been, Scorsese's version should have been called Force Majeure, which
Yeah.
they said in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like that would have been more thematically resonant to Scorsese's version, where in the original, I'm like, that makes sense. Cape Fear, that's where like their plan takes action, and it's
Yeah.
like the people fighting against evil and
Yeah.
triumphing,
Where
whatever.
we're going.
But like, I think at the end of the day, Scorsese's movie feels like it's God's judgment being passed, and like
Yes.
the truly evil one pays, and then the bad one suffers, and it's like nobody gets out clean because life is
No.
miserable and God is evil.
Right. Even though at the end of the Sassy version, I just want to point out, to go back to the religious element, that he's speaking in goddamn tongues as he's being
I loved
carried
it.
off. It was so crazy.
I
That was my
loved it.
favorite part of his performance.
It's just
Yes.
wild because now
like-
that
Because that's when he
What?
can go full hog. It's like, of
Yes.
course you need to do this right now.
That whole
I-
end sequence. So I thought the speaking in tongues thing was the craziest like moment and like encapsulation of why it should be called Force Majeure too. Like he is descending away but thinks he's going to heaven
Yeah.
probably, and like,
Oh, that's definitely
know.
what he's thinking.
and I also as much as I hated Juliette Lewis's opening, like I cannot express how much I hated the beginning, you guys. Like I was like,
The first
how
30.
the fuck am I gonna sit through this garbage?
being
But-
able to laugh definitely helped. Like being there
Yeah.
to fuck around with Jesse and Nick definitely helped. Just
Being
like,
alone.
look at this. Like, am I picking this up right, or am I being an asshole?
I love that time switch. But anyway, regardless of that, the ending bit of her dialogue I thought was the most chilling thing and the best way to end it, where she's just like, we never talked about Max Cady again. Like we
Right.
literally pretended like it didn't
Never
happen.
happened. Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the punishment. Now you
Yes.
have to live forever with this memory, and like you're not going to do anything positively about it. Like you guys are like you're dumb and you're stupid bad parents, like, and you're bad spousing, and you're a weird girl who needs some outlet.
Yeah.
Read a book. Just kidding. She
Do
reads lots of
anything.
books. That was a bad joke.
No, that was one of the things that I think did play out is just like, oh, he's setting it up so that like them deliberately not telling her something like ends up playing into Katie's hands, which is like
Yes.
didn't happen in the original, where it's like, all right, we're gonna sit you down and we're gonna tell you like we're gonna give you like a gist of what's happening. We're not gonna tell you anything specific,
Right.
but we're gonna let you know that there is a reason for you to be afraid, so you should be on the lookout. Whereas like they were just acting really weird towards her and they wouldn't tell her anything, which only like made her frustration grow on top of them screaming at each other every
And
night.
maybe a little bit of curiosity. Who does the unknown is tantalizing. What is this that
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to know about? Why do you guys keep talking and then stop talking? What is it? This guy? What's this guy's deal? Why won't you tell me? Are you the guy?
Well, what's
your
your deal?
deal?
Oh,
And
that's
then
not that
he-
bad.
And then he gets to tell you whatever story he wants.
instead of your parents just being like,
It's
hey,
the witch in the Hansel and Gretel
It's
house.
terrifying.
It couldn't
wolf
be
in
more.
sheep's clothing, like you said
on the
earlier.
nose.
My heart just sank into my asshole. I was like, Jesus, that scene's so good. That like is arguably like the best scene that's happened in a Scorsese movie thus far. Like literally, maybe the school
That one
between De
scene?
Niro and Lewis.
Just
Like-
because of the echoes of real life that is
Yeah,
so deeply in there.
it felt beyond the movie.
Like
where
there's
I
a
was
reason
like,
you're scared. It's the fact that what's being presented isn't scary. It's everything that's in your mind that's like, oh God, why am I terrified? Because this could literally be happening at any moment. Like this is how it happens. This is how it happens. It's that easy. All you have to do is be at the right place at the right time and say the right amount of words.
I mean, obviously, there's other sequences that rival it, but I'd say it's in the conversation for just like singular,
Just for one
like
sequence?
yeah, like I'd pull that shit out and be like, so
It's
that's how you
definitely
movie.
the best part of the movie.
So that's how you do acting. So this is how you construct drama. Take note, everyone.
Look.
This is how you make complicated characters that I now feel very confused about how I'm supposed to feel. I don't want to watch this anymore, but I need to know how this goes. God, that ending is crazy.
You know how
That
this
whole
movie
thing.
could have turned into like a really, 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 really bad movie?
How?
If they tried to do the thing where it's like Katie hates the dad, but he is in love with the daughter. And they tried to spin that. That sucked.
Mm.
that would never have worked in
Yeah.
a million gajillion years.
No.
I'm not actually going to kill your daughter because I love her, but
Yeah, that'd be dumb.
I
I'm
was
going to
just
kill you too.
I was just thinking about The Purge, you know, where the kid or the girl's boyfriend sneaks in and tries to kill the dad.
Oh yeah,
Barely fucking remember that
Yeah.
stupid piece of
saw
shit
it in
movie.
theaters. Bad movie.
It's just like not a good twist, but good shit.
Okay, sure. I don't remember. I'm sorry.
You guys reference movies all the time. I want
I
to
know,
give it a shot.
but the Purge.
I don't have a vest, you know?
He's very, very,
Sorry.
very,
That
very,
and
very,
look-
very, 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 very into the Legion right now. So he needs to be thinking about the Purge.
Yes. Here's our official plug for Dead by Daylight.
Can't
They
stop
pay
playing.
us. Yeah, no, they don't. But
I
we
wish.
can't stop playing.
Speaking
Dude,
of fun
put us in as
horror games,
put us in as survivors, everyone.
Yeah, and Max Cady as a villain.
Hey,
Yes,
we are
you
working up
mentioned
schematics right now to make him work. Just so you know, Dead by Daylight's you guys listen to us. I know you do.
Yep.
Whoever programs and updates the game. So we are working on a Max Cady build. We will be working on Survivor builds for
I
ourselves.
actually think the Dead by
Stay tuned.
Daylight creative team is the only audience we have.
yeah, actually, they are all 70 downloads that we get.
Hey guys.
I heard that
Thank
Sassy's
you.
going to be a new character.
That'd be amazing.
That would be awesome.
That's who should be paired with Max Cady.
He's
Or
the
Catherine
entity.
Scorsese once again.
He's the entity. Instead of that hand coming
That's
to grab
funny.
you, Martin Scorsese's mom walks
So are you
up
just confirming
with
that Sassy
spaghetti.
is God?
Well,
Might as well be.
I mean,
I think Catherine Scorsese
isn't he
is
to like
God.
you Italians?
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not
no,
Italian.
No?
I don't think
Who do
so.
Italians all up? Oh, Mussolini. I'm sorry. I forgot.
Well, the true true
he
born
led the trains on time.
the
Good job.
trains that came on time.
Listen to another episode. I
So
can't remember
let's
what
be
the-
blunt.
That's what I
Remember
said.
Let's be blunt.
No, not yet. I
We
have
talked about
things I want
fashion.
He's
to
the one to
read.
read.
I've been waiting patiently,
It's your
and now I
segment.
have to. I had a perfect seg earlier, so I'll do that one first.
I definitely interrupted.
It's from Roger Ebert's review, and he enforces something you said earlier, Jesse. He gave it 3 out of 4. And he said, what we are looking at here is a film noir version of the classic Scorsese hero, who in film after film is a man tortured by guilt and the weakness of the flesh, seeking forgiveness and redemption. And with this new version of Max Cady, Scorsese gives us not simply a bad man, but an evil one, whose whole
Yes.
purpose is to show Sam Bowden he's a criminal too.
Yep.
He's
You're-
trying to repudiate justice, but like
He's
it's
trying to
not
make him.
justice.
He's trying to
but,
be.
like,
Oh, it's a man. You and me, we're the same.
yeah.
We
it's a
are
man.
not the same. We are the same.
you commit a crime, I commit a crime. There's levels, bud.
And I guess this is a decent enough seg, but to tap on what Pauline Kael thought of the film, this is from an interview in '94 where the prompt was like, "You're disappointed in Scorsese," and she said he has become a much more proficient craftsman. But the first films he did that I responded to intensely, Mean Streets and Taxi Driver, had a sense of discovery. He was looking into himself and the world. I was disappointed in Goodfellas, and I thought Cape Fear was just a terrible mistake. The Age of Innocence is really Merchant Ivory terrain. Even though Scorsese shows what he can do with it, in some ways he doesn't shape the material. I thought the movie disintegrated. So she just like,
Was he talking about the age, or was she talking about the Age of Innocence at the end there?
yes.
Okay.
So she didn't like
Yeah, any of
she's
them.
anything after Taxi Driver, it sounds like didn't wow her like that did, which is why.
Yeah,
we,
I know she wasn't
think
a big fan of Raging Bull either.
Yeah, she didn't like it quite as much, which like fair because that's when he got his formal chops is at
Yeah.
Raging Bull. From
Yeah.
then on, he does become, like she said, an efficient craftsman, and
Yes.
everything before is a little more sloppy and loose, but like.
Yeah.
It's all the same Scorsese to me, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're wrong. Just kidding.
Is
I
that all
mean,
you had to read?
No. Well, yes, because then the last thing was the budget,
Oh.
What
then
was
hit
it?
which we
us.
alluded to.
Hit us
Because I
with
heard
that
it was a
budget.
moneymaker.
The budget at the time, $35 million. Today, that is $65.8 million. Pretty big.
That's big.
Decent sized budget.
Big. Bigger than
For a movie like that,
Goodfellas, right?
I don't know.
remember.
But for a movie like
For
that,
sure.
dude, that's big.
That's big. Which is why I think
I mean, you
it's
saw
so
the
excessive.
end with the fucking river.
Yeah, that's
Like,
gotta
yeah,
be where
that's
most of the
gotta be
money.
expensive.
Like that's a set
That's
or like a
yeah,
sound
that's big.
stage,
That's big.
whatever.
That's big. That's big.
Guess how much it made?
300 million worldwide.
At the time, 182.3 million, which today is $343.1 million.
Jesus
This
Christ.
movie was a mega,
Is
by
that-
far
is
his
that
biggest,
his biggest hit. Yeah.
At least at the up to this point, yes. I don't
think
know.
after this,
No,
I
Wolf of
wouldn't be
Wall
surprised.
Street.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Casino becomes his next one after this.
Was Casino a hit? I thought it was one of another slow burners.
I don't think Casino wasn't a hit.
No, it definitely made quite a bit of money, but
It's-
it's not as much.
As Cape Fear?
No,
Oh wow.
like $70 million less
Okay.
than Cape Fear, but still over $100 million.
Well, we'll
A
talk
whole
about
movie
that later.
budget less.
I don't think he becomes a moneymaker until Gangs in New York when he gets Leo.
I was gonna say. Oh wait, I looked up budget.
Gangs in New York
Damn,
had
Gangs
to
in New York
be
had the
huge.
craziest budget. Gangs in New York is a big one, 193.8. Wolf of Wall Street made almost $400 million.
Yeah.
Though that is his big. That's
Yeah,
his.
dude.
That was his golden ticket. That's how he got to The Irishman.
I cannot.
It made
sure.
how much? Do your weird Jesus movie.
Yeah.
Do your weird gangster. We don't
We
care.
don't do blank checks forever.
That's Scorsese running to the bank.
I'm
Says
gonna
it'd be
talk
more
about
like-
God. I'm gonna talk about God. You can't stop me now.
Apparently
We got
not, though.
better
His
tech. You
last
can't
3
bomb
movies
theaters.
are having trouble.
What do you mean?
He had trouble getting Silence done. He had trouble getting The Irishman done.
I know,
and
but
he
they
had
got
trouble
made, man.
They did get made.
That's wild.
I know.
In this day and age that we got all those
What movies has Sassy given up on? That's what I want to know. Where he's like, fuck it, I don't care.
Probably lots. I actually don't really know. But that's all the shit I had to fucking read. So let's be blunt. It's probably pretty clear. None of us are going to be fighting to say this is canon worthy. I mean, I give it a 4 out of 5. I liked it quite a lot by the end. I know I've dog shit multiple times on the beginning, but
There
I
are
think
plenty
it,
of movies that are not in the canon that I do like.
yes.
So,
And
Yeah.
I think that I like it more than King of Comedy, which might be sacrilege. I
well,
don't
that's
know.
to me. But that's
Well,
to me.
And I have it teetering with Mean Streets, which one I like more. They're both neck and neck, but I don't think this is. I would by no stretch of the means be like, you got to see this.
Well,
But I might want to try to fight for the original sneaking in the canon.
I would say that should be.
If we can slide that in right now, then like
This would be
I
the
will,
time.
Yeah.
I would put original Cape Fear in the canon. for
Original
sure.
Cape Fear canon classic.
Like,
That's what I like to hear.
Good movie.
Yes.
welcome,
both good
Robert
movies.
Mitchum.
But here's the thing: I remembered the reason why I ultimately felt when I really tried to break it down in my head, because I was prepared to go head to head with you guys if you wanted to put it in the canon, where I was like, Mean Streets was my deciding factor too in my rank, where Mean Streets is a 3.5 out of 5 movie. I don't have as much love for it as far as like the filmmaking and like, it's obviously not polished and it's still rough around the edges and all that.
Of course.
But I think when we're talking about the importance of Scorsese's career, Mean Streets is one of the staples. Like, you
Yes.
cannot have Scorsese without Mean Streets.
Of course.
Fuck Who's That
Absolutely
Knocking at My
not.
Door. Fuck Boxcar Bertha.
Yes,
you don't
that's
have
his
to see
first
those.
movie.
Mean Streets is the one you go to if you want the good movie to start with. And it's not even his best, so it's great. Gives you a decent start. But
I
the
think
thing
it's a
about
great
Mean
movie.
Streets is, I mean, I could love it even more on rewatch. It's kind of a hangout movie, so I think that will bode well on rewatch. But
I think you might like it more having now seen Goodfellas. It makes me appreciate it more, being like, I see how what you were trying to do.
yes,
okay,
I think it's interesting how
I just hate Keitel, man. He sucks.
Yeah, I
right
know.
now Color of Money and Cape Fear are like his most direct, not him
Yes.
movies for the most part. I mean,
And
obviously Alice doesn't live here
live here
anymore.
Like the least him in his movies.
Yes, like well, No, because that's where I was going to say, like, I think you could make way more of an argument for Sassy being present as far as his personal artistic nature in both Color of Money and Cape Fear, because I can
Yes.
see why he picked those projects. Both adaptations of classic Hollywood material, both have characters in them that resemble characters that have similar traits throughout his career, his obsessions, his themes, and then he saw a movie in which he could integrate himself into it. I think he knew when reading the original script that it wasn't him and that he needed to find a way to make it him. And that's why the movie does stand out for being something that's different in variation from the original too, where you can watch both back to back
Yeah.
and not hate your life and just
Yes.
go, I'm watching the same thing again. They are wildly different movies in style and in time, especially because in 62 you can't do what you can do in 91. So right there is the argument for why both should be seen in conjunction, but at
Which
the same
is a
time,
disturbing notion to think about.
yes.
When you really stop and think about like that, it's like, why is that okay but wasn't then? And it's
Yeah.
like, is it better without restriction? Is it worse? What's the danger of media?
Well, what
We're
would it-
not getting into
But
that today.
what would it have been like if those curtains were lifted in 62? I don't know. Like, how
Maybe
would they
better.
have handled it back then? I don't know.
Better?
We're looking at we're talking Juliette Lewis
Yeah.
right now.
I do
When
think
you
it's-
shelter people from reality,
right.
it hurts. But
yeah.
if you release it too soon,
But we also got to think about information gained over time and how maybe 31 years ago they didn't have the information to present these ideas as not eloquently, but as like more complex as this. Maybe 31
Yeah.
years ago, they lived by the law and they're like, well, her sexual history does matter.
Is it
This
30
movie sucks.
Is it 31 or 29?
29.
Years?
That's
Yes.
the thing.
Yeah.
Between the two.
But it's like 29 years ago, people's morals might have been different, and a movie like this would have only like furthered that line of thinking where it's like, well, you see, wasn't Max Cady kind of right? Like what this guy did was wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know?
I think they're both
There's a
pretty-
reason that the law is a thing, is because people thought like that on general consensus.
Oh,
Yes.
well, yeah.
Yes.
Especially, I mean, it was definitely more blurry back
So
then,
it's like,
too.
I don't know. Yeah, you shouldn't filter things out, but like I've always said, it does matter what you're putting out into the world.
But I also think
Definitely.
it's about form. I think that the original Cape Fear is honestly just as disturbing in a lot of ways. It's just more
Yeah.
subdued in the way that it handles the material. But I think that Robert Mitchum, like we talked about, is like the case for like why that movie is so good.
He
Like,
does carry it like on his back.
I think it's
even though
hilarious.
like everything else is just as good as him.
Yeah.
He's still that's why I think it is canon worthy.
Gregory Peck, I guess, was big in getting that movie made. Like, I think he might have been a producer or something. I'm probably wrong, but I've read things that he was responsible for its production in some way. And the movie was a big flop. Like, I think it dissolved his production company,
Oh shit.
actually. Weird that it came out like the same year as To Kill a Mockingbird. But
Oh, that is weird. I didn't even
well, I think
realize
To
that.
Kill a Mockingbird came out like toward the tail end of that year in like L.A. or New York.
Yeah,
and it
you
opened
said
up
you-
wide in
yeah,
January of the
63.
next year or something, because that's Peck's iconic role. But Max Cady is one of Mitchum's iconic roles, and he wanted Mitchum in that part and like pushed to get Mitchum in that part. Mitchum didn't want to do it at first, and there's a good quote if anyone wants to go look it up. I don't remember it, so I'm not going to try. But of when Mitchum finally agreed to do it, and then apparently it was pretty braggadocious after the movie was released that he like acted circles around Gregory Peck and did so much better than him.
I mean, he
And
did.
then Gregory Peck said like that he thought that was shitty of him, and they didn't. That was big. That was big because we didn't talk about them in this movie, the remake. They didn't have a good relationship. Like when working together, they hated each other, and people have speculated as to whether or not that was Mitchum being like method and trying to antagonize,
Or maybe he's
Gregory
just
Peck.
a fucking dick.
but they
Right.
never mended the relationship again. And if you notice, like I noticed before I even knew this bit of information, they're not in the movie together. The remake.
Right.
They have separate roles
Yeah,
off screen
yeah.
Yeah.
for that reason.
For that reason,
That was partially why, from what I would understand.
if I lay eyes on that bastard again, I'm gonna deck him.
But Mitchum and that and Night of the Hunter are like his two crowning achievements. And I mean, I'm sure there's other movies I need to see more.
Out of
his
the
canon.
Past.
Out of the Past being another one. But
Great, not scary Mitchum. Intimidating Mitchum, but not scary.
smoking? No. Cigarette? Smoking.
Yes.
Good shit.
Classic.
Jacques Turner, yet again.
So fucking not in the canon.
Not in the canon.
I mean, if you're a fan of Sess, I'd say it's worth your watch for sure. But
It's definitely
Sure.
worth
not.
seeing. It's on Netflix until the end of July.
It's heavy, so fucking
Or until the
be
beginning
prepared
of
for
July.
that. It's not like fun. If you're reeling off the tails of Goodfellas, you're gonna crash.
I've seen
you
so
know.
many reviews of Cape Fear where people call it fun, man. It's
so
crazy.
strange to me.
When? Where?
I think there's a lot of good moral quandaries in the film that like,
yeah.
I don't have fresh enough in my brain to have dissected even further, but I like what we talked about, and I think there is a lot of value in that.
Yeah.
So
And I do think there's value too in the ideas that you discussed about complicating entertainment, like trying to present it as entertainment too, with super brutal, complicated material.
so
Something
good.
else, man.
It is a great movie. I'm gonna God, now I'm questioning again. Is it above or below Mean Streets? But that's for me to know and you to find out eventually.
Because we're live in your ears. No,
Yeah.
Not-
fuck.
Got him. We're live in our ears and not in yours.
Thank you, Brandon.
Goo, goo, goo. I'm Frank.
Oh, I'm Jesse.
Brandon.
So what else are we talking about today?
Well, this is a remake. This is
remake.
a remake
Wait.
by Sassy.
Wait,
So why not? What?
Cape Fear?
Cape Fear, yeah. Is a remake. You know, we've been talking about two different Cape Fears this whole time.
Are you being Brandon right now? What's
Yes.
going on?
We're switching roles.
Oh, fuck this. God.
So I guess
We're doing the remake.
This is it. This
You're
is part
rebooting
two.
each other.
Do you see the
I'm
lightning?
audience.
What is this bullshit? Sorry, listeners.
Boo, this sucks.
What
Yeah.
I just am curious about is if you guys could see Sassy remake any movie, what would it be?
Like if I could choose?
Like if you could choose.
Ooh, like
if
I-
Sassy
I'm
was right
pitching it to
here,
Sassy.
and you
Are
could
we-
smack him with the scripts and say, I don't care how much dirt you put on this, but redo it.
So Scorsese today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today, Sassy.
I can't pretend like we didn't talk about this before, and I have a whole list of movies to talk about. I was gonna start like trying to casually
Like,
rattle them off, but I
no,
can't
you,
pretend
you
like
got
I-
them
I
written
can't.
down, baby.
Yeah, they're there. But does somebody else want to?
No,
Should
you
I?
No,
Yeah,
go.
you-
You're the
you
only
started,
one who
bro.
wrote them down.
I have three. I have it split in three sections
Okay.
for very two
Four
movies in
categories
each.
in each three sections.
No.
Two subcategories for
Stop
each category.
it.
Okay. All right. Whatever.
I have two movies that I don't like that I think he could improve.
Okay.
I wrote down. Both are well-loved movies, and I apologize if you love them, but they're not good. So, The Rules of the Game. I feel like I want to make sure after Agent Innocence, but I feel like he could. I want to see him do like a full-on like farce, like a bunch of people just running around a mansion for like an hour and a half. Like, I want to see Scorsese do that kind of comedy, you know? Because I feel like After Hours is really his only stab at it. And then the other
Wolf
one,
of Wall Street has the bits too.
yeah, I mean all of them.
Wolf of
have,
Wall
like,
Street's
bits.
definitely. I don't know. I guess like out of the ones that I've seen, Wolf of Wall Street definitely stands out as more of like I think you can put the comedy inside of the genre
Yeah, I guess
as
I
opposed to these other movies.
I
It's
wouldn't
more
say-
satirical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I think his sensibilities could fit like taking a stab at high society, whatever. But also Assault on Precinct 13. I do not like that movie, but I feel like he could have a fun time of like a raid.
Interesting
invasion
that
movie.
is a remake.
I know. I actually like
And then there is a remake of that already in existence.
I like the remake more.
I know you do.
I'm
Isn't
the
that
only person on this
Ethan Hawke?
planet. Yeah, and Lawrence Fishburne,
Okay.
John Leguizamo.
Now that I've seen Rio
Is it
Bravo,
like
I'm
a
really
cop
curious to
movie?
go back to Assault on
Yes.
Precinct 13.
Well, yeah, but I feel like you could complicate the
It's
lines
actually
in there
no,
too.
it's interesting because they have to use the prisoners as like protection, like they all
Yeah.
fight together,
yeah,
something.
against a common enemy. But in the original, it's like a gang trying to get somebody. In the remake,
It's
cor-
almost like the
it-
Warriors gang.
Yeah.
Like when I picture them,
yeah, same. But in the remake, it's corrupt cops are trying to get in against
That's
the good cops. And I'm like,
crazy.
that's better. That's literally a better movie.
well, the Assault on Precinct 13 that Carpenter did, I know definitely leans toward the like even the zombie genre a bit because the gang is almost like not human. Like they're almost exactly like that, a horde of zombies outside of the station trying to get in.
I mean, I don't like it at all, but I feel like Scorsese doing like almost like a Western, like staying in the saloon. Like
I thought
That would
about
be up
that
his
that
alley.
I wanted a Sassy Western, but I think we were gonna get one. So
we are going to get one. So a genre that I would, this is my second sub, sci-fi. I want a sci-fi Scorsese
why
movie.
has he not done
it's
a
the
sci-fi
only one we
Sassy?
don't got.
And I wrote down two that I feel like would be his lane.
Okay.
One I hate, Ad Astra,
Ah,
and one I love, Blade Runner.
Yes.
I feel like those are the two types of sci-fi I'd like to see him do, like the philosophical journey in space to look for the father. That was made to be a Scorsese movie.
Yeah, as much as I
James Gray, you dumb fuck.
I love our boy Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if Sassy took on 2049. Now that you say it,
Yes.
like think about the complications in those characters.
Yes. I think his style obviously wouldn't map on it easily, which is probably why he's never made a sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
He would
His
have
movies
to
are
step
grounded
out of
on
his
Earth.
zone, but that's why I want it more than anything. Or a 2001. Okay, and then now here's like two movies I love that were tailor-made to be Scorsese.
Okay.
This one, less so, The Sacrifice, Tarkovsky. I like that now that he's this old man and he's in contemplation mode. I would like something that is wholly philosophical like that.
Yeah.
Opposed to like a genre movie like The Irishman, where he's like, we also get these deep thoughts about death, which is fun and amazing and like the best thing ever. But what if the whole movie was just like, destruction is coming?
Yes.
Because the movie's about World War III starting, and then a guy trying to reverse it by
The
talking to a
Sacrifice?
witch. Yeah, it's a weird movie. It's
Is
a
it good?
great movie. Yeah,
Okay.
one of the best. And then the other one, No Country for Old Men, was made to be a Scorsese movie, and
It
it's
was.
absurd that the Coen brothers did it.
They did a pretty damn good job.
It's good.
Yeah, it's basically perfect. You know what would have made it better if
If
Martin
Sassy did
Scorsese
it.
was behind the camera.
I think there would have been more style.
There would but there would have been more truly deep
Everything.
resonance of
Ooh.
the Western, of crime, of the ideology
You're right.
evolving,
I
of
think you
somebody
might be
who's
right.
Of
lost
crime
in the past,
evolving.
of how we are always out of touch and always reaching for something better. I think that movie is literally tailor-made to be a Scorsese movie.
You're not
So
wrong.
that's
I think
once
the
it popped in my head, I was like,
Killer of the Flower Moon might be that.
yeah, I hope it's his equivalent.
Me too.
I hope it's the best thing I've ever seen.
Brandon, what about you, man?
I don't have one specifically, but I will say that I would like Martin Scorsese to remake every Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh yeah,
Every Quentin Tarantino movie. You want to know why?
why?
Because Quentin Tarantino's a dick.
Yes.
And even though there are some of his movies that I like, I know that the things that I don't like about all of his movies would literally be eliminated if Martin Scorsese was behind the camera. Literally be. I mean, not behind
I
the
don't know
camera.
necessarily know if that's true, only because, well, maybe now Scorsese, but you've been bitching an awful lot about Sassy.
I only bitched about like the first 6 movies. After that,
I've only bitched about like every movie up to
okay, 6 is only like
Half.
now. 50%
1/4 of the
Well, totally.
1/4 of his filmography.
so far.
Cut me a break. And
I don't-
also,
if we
It's
just
a
talk
fourth
about
total. It's half so far.
imagine you walk into a room
Yes.
and there's an old man,
yes.
and you're like, he seems nope, actually a fairly young man
Okay.
with a beard. And you're like, oh, he looks nice. And he goes, black people are different, aren't they? And you're like, whoa, I don't know you. Why'd you say that?
Okay.
What the fuck? And then over time, you're like, no, I meant like we don't understand them, and that can lead to fear and a misunderstanding and this and this and that. And you're like, oh, I just need to sit down with you for a little bit longer to understand where you're coming from. You didn't lead off strong talking to a, well, you have to also have to imagine that you're black, which is even more off-putting. Like, why'd you say that? I know. I'm different. Thanks, buddy.
Yes.
So you sit with someone long enough, you get to know them a little better, and you realize their intentions. I don't hold back any of the things that I said about Martin Scorsese's movies, nor what they put into the world,
Yes.
because, it's important. It matters. I can't be alone in those thoughts.
I'm not saying that that's not wrong or not valid. I'm just saying to say that you thought Sassy was as pure a person to take on the material
Quentin
of somebody as
Tarantino
unpure as Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino defends any of the things that black people have complained to him about. He defends it with, I grew up with black people.
Which
That-
is the
that-
equivalent
that
of
alone-
I have a black friend.
That alone is like, if anyone ever took aim at Martin Scorsese for any race relations, he would never be like, well, I knew all these black people growing up. Like, why the fuck? But I don't also think people have come at Martin Scorsese for racial implications. At least not in any of the movies we've seen so far.
Wait, say that again. I'm so sorry.
I said I also don't think anyone has come for Martin Scorsese for like racial implications.
I have tried to look into it a bit before, and I had a hard time finding things. Like, concretely. I feel like you can find things in passing throughout his whole fucking career.
Sure.
Like, but it's not like a main claim against him.
No,
like it is
the
against
theater
Tarantino.
bombings.
Yes.
Which, yeah. You know?
And like,
So-
and
Well,
also
theater bombings happen because of religion.
right,
Yeah,
not because
so
of
I'm
race.
saying like
He's
that's
saying
what
that's
when you
more
talk about fucking Scorsese in terms of crazy
controversy.
things that's happened.
Mhm.
He tried to get someone who watched his movies tried to like kill a senator in real life.
Tried to kill
Also,
a president.
also,
President, sorry.
Tarantino's movies are all up Scorsese's alley. Like
Yeah.
it's not even like a far
No.
except the Kill Bills. Actually, those would be the only ones where it'd be like
And maybe
I mean
Bastards.
that's up Scorsese's alley. I feel
He
like
could do that.
closer to
very
that.
body.
That's true.
That's
but-
the only thing that I think about Bastards. It's way less about
Mm.
character.
That is true. That's
Hans Landa is really the only character you. And God,
oh
is
yeah.
it Melanie Laurent?
N-
Is it the actress name?
yes, it is.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember her character's name. which is-
Shoshana
Shoshana. Yes.
something.
Au revoir, Shoshana.
Shoshana Dreyfus, and it is Melanie Laurent.
It's a great movie,
It's an amazing movie.
but
I like it.
Quentin does seem like a dick.
He
I
does
just,
seem like
I just think that
does
there
make
was
good movies.
there's very there's
Some
not
bad.
it's not that I don't like his movies. I just don't like him, and I would much rather someone else be behind the camera.
That's fair.
I can't.
And I
argue with
think
it.
that Martin Scorsese stepping in for any of the movies that I've seen wouldn't like
except Kill
Quint-
Bills,
yes.
those are the only ones I'd say like he wouldn't enhance or
No.
like do equally well.
no.
I think all his other ones
He'd have done
Sure.
incredible with Hollywood.
But like that's
Literally.
what I was I thought about that, and then I was like, okay, well, what's like my favorite fucking like Quentin Tarantino movie right now that like I like because of Quentin Tarantino, and I was like fucking Pulp Fiction, except for the end, and I was like, he wouldn't have put that in there. But then I was like, Taxi Driver, he literally does.
Did do it.
Literally does.
But you could argue in the same way you are arguing for Scorsese that Tarantino has the chance as a young, bashful man to learn and grow, and he like literally refuses as he grows.
yes,
Well,
Like,
I
I
was
don't
about
think
to say though,
He
I
stands
don't
the
think
same ground of
I-
like I am the same.
I don't think it's dropped at all in Hollywood. So maybe from here on out. But apparently we only got one more.
yeah. Because he wants to only have 10 movies, right? Even though he technically already has 10.
He
Yeah.
does already have 10.
So it's like
Very funny.
He's being a letterboxed film bro. No man, I don't have 10. I have 9.
I
Twin
have 9.
Peaks is a movie, okay?
Hey, it is.
I know,
Nah,
dude.
it
I'm
literally
It's
isn't.
being
but
funny.
it
Yeah, I
is.
know. I agree, but
It's
I don't.
both.
Yes, you're right.
It's- I
Okay.
don't care.
So is that-
Everything's a bullshit.
it's just all of his movies in general.
all those movies, and then I'd like to see Scorsese's take on a superhero movie.
If you had to pick one,
That would be
a
hilarious.
superhero?
no.
Or
If
one,
you had to pick one
Both.
Tarantino
Both.
and one
Oh,
superhero movie,
Okay, one Tarantino is Django Unchained, just because we did talk about it briefly, but
Not
it
on
wouldn't
mic.
be Django Unchained, but it would be way more focused on
It'd
Air
be-
Strauss.
it wouldn't be Sergio Leone. It'd be John Ford.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
It would. I think it'd be more contemplative than it would be action
Yes.
adventure.
Yes.
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 and I think that there would have been
Which would
like
probably
I don't
solve
know.
all the problems
Like
of Django.
I think that the things that I think it would still offend some people just because of the very essence of what the story is, but I think that the way Django could have been utilized more as opposed to being presented as like, oh, this hero, the main protagonist of the movie, is gonna do everything great, but like Air Strauss is the one that you're really following up until like the very end. I just think Scorsese would have done a lot more with that would stick with me a little bit better in the future. In terms of a superhero movie, I
Yes.
think that the only thing that Scorsese might be able to add like a very interesting sort of spin on is Constantine. Have you guys ever heard of that? He's a
yeah, the
he's-
Keanu Reeves.
yeah, he's a DC wizard, but it's like like crazy shit happens, but it's mostly about how like
Isn't like religion involved?
yeah.
Yeah, he's like literally from hell or something.
So he's like the anti-Bible man.
So
Yeah.
it's like he's
Yeah.
always constantly he's
You
well,
remember Bible Man?
I think it's like his character had a
Bible superhero?
relationship with God. Like he's a human who had a relationship with God, and I think he's been like abandoned at some point.
So
and
Scorsese.
he also fights demons. I just think
Yeah.
Scorsese could have
Wow,
like
I think Scorsese
that would be
should have made that,
that
movie.
would be like putty in his hands. He's like, oh yeah.
I was
No,
thinking like
Sassy should do the Kubrick, and he should make the superhero movie with Constantine, just like he did with every movie he made. He's like, oh, I'm just gonna make the movie of this genre. Sorry,
yeah.
only failed like one time.
No more superhero movies. Sorry, and it's also the most abstract one. Sorry, bye.
I'd love it. I'd say I thought Punisher would maybe
Ooh.
also fit in his realm.
Oh, for sure.
I was like somebody like that.
He
Recast
brings
John
Pesci
Travolta.
back.
I forgot about that.
He's the villain.
Was Thomas Jane?
Thomas Jane.
I
is the
like
Punisher.
that more than the remake that they did a couple of years ago.
That's the
show.
remake, isn't it?
No,
No,
not
no,
the show.
no.
The show is fairly decent, but the remake, the the remake that they did in like 2016.
Oh no, I think that's not, it's like a reboot, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's not good at all.
Mm.
At least the
I think-
last one's
I remember
like
that wasn't that like a January release or something? Like it was an early year.
No one-
like,
no
right
one
at the
literally-
end.
I have
nobody-
no idea
nobody
what
saw
you're
it.
talking
nobody
about.
Yeah.
cared about it.
Like
I think
That I know
Punisher
it existed.
Warzone.
Warzone?
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
did remember that.
But
No,
it-
yeah, okay.
It literally just came
Good
back.
job,
to
you
me.
guys.
Good shit.
Because I
Movie
didn't
No,
know.
guy.
is this good? Should we be put down? Also, that was in 2008, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking
Whoa.
about.
Not 2016? Then when did the original? Not original. but-
2004.
All right.
Wow.
So I have a lot of work to do in the next couple days with the edit, so I'm gonna wrap this up super quick with my picks, and then we'll get into recently watched. But he should remake a good movie, Black Narcissus. Michael Powell, Emmerich Pressburger.
Have you talked about that on the show before?
Black Narcissus?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Black Narcissus is my favorite Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger movie, but it's like clinch picked between that and The Red Shoes. Like they're so fucking close. I just think that Black Narcissus is a movie that touches on much more fascinating subject matter and taboo subject matter of the time than The Red Shoes does, but both are technically proficient, gorgeous, fucking incredible cinematic experiences wall to
Yes,
wall.
of
So
course.
it's like hard to say they should be remade. And I originally had thought The Red Shoes, given like I want to see if Sassy did it so much in New York, and I wasn't as big a fan, just fuck it. Go full hog and just make The Red Shoes. Do it, like now, and see how it goes, you know?
Like a full-fledged musical.
And it would probably be incredible with the experience Scorsese has now. But I do still stand by Black Narcissus because of the fact that there are some dated elements of that movie that need to be like revised in the sense that I think the movie is trying to speak about like white colonialism in that time. And like they have, I believe it's only one character, or maybe it's two, but I'm not sure. But they definitely use brown face in the movie, and it's pretty cringy, despite the fact that it is like a great movie as an objective piece of cinema. That's not great objectively. So I'd rather see real Himalayan people in those roles as opposed to just Hollywood celebrities taking on those parts. But also, it would be interesting to see another Sassy film driven through a female lens, because this movie is definitely lensed through the female perspective as opposed to the male, even though we get sides of both. And the one male character that is in this, oh my God, Marty, make this movie. Bring back Daniel Day.
Dude, the
Bring him
religion,
back for the
too.
trilogy.
The religion
Daniel Day
aspect.
trilogy. He's literally the guy in the original movie.
It
I
kinda
can't remember
looks
his
like
name. It
him.
looks like him, yes. Like I thought the whole time that he resembled Daniel Day-Lewis.
I see it.
A little bit.
And even in his performance and his voice, it almost reminded me of Reynolds Woodcock.
Definitely the religious implications Scorsese.
And I
would
mean, that's
play with.
obvious. That's the biggest
just
thing.
in
Yeah.
there.
That's
You
what I was
just
about to
falling
say.
into his
Yeah,
lap.
it's
Yeah.
straight up nuns going to a new convent up in the Himalayas where like people should not be, and religion most certainly. So what happens? Nothing but bad shit. Classic Sassy.
Honestly. Okay.
And that's the good movie you should make.
What
The
about
bad
the bad
movie? Well, it's not even bad. I loved this movie as a kid, and I won't wax on about it.
Spy Kids?
No, Last Action Hero, the John McTiernan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Where he comes out of the movie in real life.
Yes, listen.
Okay.
Listen,
You're going to have to sell me.
Sassy made Hugo, right?
Yes.
He wanted to make a movie for his grandkids.
I'm sold.
His grandkids are a little older now. His grandkids like some action. His grandkids like some excitement. And you know what Sassy loves?
Huh.
The movies.
Yes.
And you know what Last Action Hero is all about?
Movies.
The movies. And they literally reference, like, it's just name dropping meta shit after, like, have you seen Last Action Hero, Frank?
It's been a long time.
Dude, fucking a kid loves Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Like the real Arnold Schwarzenegger. Loves Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah.
Goes to this rundown theater to see, like, it's almost like the equivalent of like a Redford theater for Michiganders, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like an old movie palace, but nobody goes there, and he's got this tight relationship with the guy who runs the theater and is the projectionist, and they like talk movies and shit together. It's almost like a Cinema Paradiso type deal. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, so I'm recalling all this from memory.
Kind of sounds like Back to the Future.
So then the guy shows him this like special ticket, and he's like, go watch the movie with the special ticket. And then the ticket starts glowing and shit, and the kid shows up in the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
Wait, I thought he came out of the movie.
That comes later.
Okay.
The kid goes into the movie, and then he becomes a part of the plot of this. I think the guy's name is Jack something. The character's name. It's like
It's a
another-
very
Slater?
stereotypical.
What's playing on the whole Schwarzenegger icon like idea that he's got a Terminator, but this is like his equivalent, where he's like this really good guy in this movie, right? And then Stallone is also in this universe, and like everybody, like it's very meta to the real world. And then at some fucking point, they come out of the movie, Schwarzenegger with him, and then it ends up being Schwarzenegger adjusting to reality, not the movie world, and he like goes into this existential crisis to the point where they enter a theater to see the seventh seal and they bring death out of the screen. It's so fucking funny, man. That movie's insane. But
I kind of want to see it.
Tom
again.
Noonan is the villain, man.
Who?
And he's like the scariest dude.
Manhunter.
He's the scariest
The
dude.
dollar hide.
I want to see it again, man. It's
Is
a
the
funny
villain.
movie. Yeah,
This
but
guy.
Oh,
yes,
jeez.
one of the scariest things I ever saw in my childhood was him in Last Action Hero, man.
He
I
looks
swear
so
to God.
wet.
But it's a movie all about the love of movies, and it's kind of cheesy, and Schwarzenegger's not great, but he could even do that with the gangster movie instead of
Okay.
the action movie.
Okay.
Brief aside, is Schwarzenegger ever like a good actor in a movie?
Kindergarten Cop.
And Terminator.
Jingle all the way.
Fuck yeah. Sinbad for Best Supporting Actor.
Arnold for and the guy who died, who was killed, who's the boyfriend. Put the cookie down. Who he screams.
Fuck.
The
That was a
shithead
dark way to bring
boyfriend.
up Phil Hartman, but
Phil
sure.
Hartman. I'm sorry. Well, that's
The one who
sorry,
died. I
Phil.
thought you meant the movie.
No. He was murdered by his wife.
Oh,
Well, you're laughing.
we're all
The
no.
way you presented it.
Not my fault.
Very sad story. Don't.
Now you're talking the Juliette Lewis thing. You're seeing what you want to see. You're hearing what you want to hear. I'm just saying facts. Just
Okay.
kidding. I presented it like
So
a
we should
douche.
remake Black Narcissus and Last Action Hero
and Jingle All the Way.
and Jingle All the Way.
That's such a good
We
movie.
do need a Jingle All the Way remake. We're due. If we're gonna
No,
remake,
no,
there's
no, no,
shitty
no, no.
movies getting remade all the time.
Let's
Come on.
just watch Jingle All the Way.
Best part of that movie, my cousin pointed out to me once. I never noticed it. That was a childhood staple movie also, but I went back and watched it again after he told me about it because I cracked up just at the idea of him telling me. If you haven't noticed this, if you've seen Jingle All the Way, go back. It's fucking hilarious. There's a scene where Sinbad is in the costume
Yeah.
of the villain
Oh,
Turbo
the-
Man's villain.
Okay.
Uh,
Can't remember.
It's like nobody likes you, Booster. Shut up. But there's a scene where they're in the parade because like they have to be
Yes.
in a parade
Yes.
for the Christmas pageant, whatever. And Schwarzenegger takes on the Turbo Man outfit, and there's a literal clash between the heroes for his kid. This is so funny. What a stupid movie. But fucking Sinbad is running after Schwarzenegger and the kid, trying to get this Turbo Man doll back. The whole thing's about getting a doll.
Oh, okay. I have seen that movie.
All right, so I'm shocked we've talked this long.
I mean,
We really barely talked about Cape Fear.
yeah.
Well, actually, not. We did talk.
It got the Last
We talked
Temptation
about it.
treatment.
It got
We
the
ta-
Last
it
Temptation.
made
But
it
why?
made
It was a good movie.
Yeah, but it made
was a good movie.
better
There's not a lot to
conversations
say.
than the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's
I-
just
Let's
like,
watch
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Just give it a watch. Jeez.
Both good movies.
It's in the canon now. Just kidding.
We've added it to the canon,
Fuck
The
it. I don't
original's
know.
in the canon.
The original is in the canon.
which
Cape
you
Fear
definitely
62.
should watch.
Yeah, and then if you're gonna watch it, you might as well watch the
And
remake.
fucking
What
the
are you
s-
doing?
So are they both in the canon?
No,
No,
Okay.
we didn't put. No, we did put the
We did
Hustler
put the
in.
Hustler.
By
we
proxy.
put the hustle.
But I-
Because that one was by association.
Yeah.
I've been keeping a log when we add them.
Okay, cool.
And
Some-
it says
someone should.
by association.
We've been talking a long time, but we all watched a movie this weekend, which I'm glad, honestly, that we kind of lumped it into one. Recently watched,
Yeah.
but we felt
I'm
it
okay
was a
with that.
perfect time to talk about The Five Bloods, the new Spike Lee joint.
Yes.
Now that we've all seen it,
Yes.
so how do we all feel, boys?
I loved it.
I thought it was good.
I also loved it.
Okay.
It's fucking dope.
I wanted to delete my Spike Lee ranked list, and I decided not to, but I did for a minute, but then I decided not to
I know.
because I literally need to rewatch all of them because I've seen these throughout the course of over 10 years. So some of them I'm like, do I even remember that? Is that even good?
Like a little
Is that
loose.
even bad? Like, and then it's like the ones I've even seen recently, I'm like, I'm having trouble comparing them, contrasting them. But when I look at it, The Five Bloods is lower on the list. I think it is in the bottom tier of his films that I've seen, which is only 11 of 23 features. Whatever. I think
That's
it's
still far more than I.
yeah. I think it's a real good movie, but I think there's a lot of things that are wrong with it personally. But I also would 100% recommend it to anybody. Like I feel like right now, especially, I think it's real exciting that it came out and it's on Netflix with such easy accessibility. And I think it's also like such a genius choice. Like, doesn't even matter if he's good or whatever. Like having Chadwick Boseman in the movie, I'm just like, hopefully you can pull in a younger generation who's like, Black Panther's in a movie. Cool,
Well, it was like
let's
what
turn this
a
on.
statement.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah, of course, that too.
to make him like the myth of your movie on top of already being a mythic figure in
Exactly.
the Black Panther role.
And I think that's
Genius.
a smart calculated choice, and
yeah,
he
I
is
feel
good
like it
in the
is.
role.
There's a very good reason that it's Chadwick Boseman because of
Yes.
the effect that Black Panther has had on like black movie watchers just in general. I think that there's a very important reason that he chose Chadwick Boseman.
So I think like definitely like could lump it in with Spike's films in the um important aspect, especially for right now. But then I think like as a movie itself, I think there was as much things that I loved that I kind of like didn't like at all.
So are you saying like just for my own personal curious reasons, more like technical movie things or more like thematic things that you saw literally happening in the movie where you're like, I don't like this, this isn't presented well, this is bad? Or was it a mixture of both like most things are?
Kind of both.
Got you.
I think there's time. I feel like he needed a different editor to
'Cause
like tighten it up a bit.
See,
I think he's a little like rambly here, and I'm like, the end spoilers for the Fab. Let's not spoil.
no,
Let's
because
not
it's
spoil
still
it. I'll talk
it's,
to you
it's
off
pretty
mic.
it's pretty fresh.
I didn't like the real life clip he chose at the end. I felt like that didn't connect to the work as much as it like felt like it was supposed to. I was like,
I agree.
sat
The
there
ending
going,
felt strange.
I was like, this doesn't connect cohesively, at least on one watch. And I could easily see it being.
I
better
have
on
to.
another watch.
I already determined that before I write my full-fledged review, it'll be my first full-fledged review. I'm watching it again. I'm
Okay.
gonna do a little dolo trip. I just don't know when I'm gonna do it.
But I mean, how did you guys feel more specifically than just I loved it?
I got like I guess in the after days. I think it's been. And it hasn't been a week. We watched it on Saturday.
Yeah,
so it's been like
close.
like 4 or 5 days. And I read a couple of reviews, and then I talked to a friend of mine's sister who said she didn't like it, and I was like, what? Well, I guess I got to look at like some other sides of this. So like I'm not really like affirmed on what is good and what is great. I just think the timing of it is really good.
Yes.
I think that's indisputable. I think that the things that it seemed like on my first watch, the things that I saw him tackling, I was like, all right, there's definitely so much more here that like I know I need to pack into more. But I like so far what I think he's presenting. I like the way that group dynamic is and how familiar it just is. Like it literally is like watching my dad with his brothers when they're around a grill, but for a whole movie plus trauma. But I think that's just the thing of it all. I think I just really was in the need for something like this from someone like Spike Lee. And I think that's a big thing. I think that on a second watch, I'll be able to like be watching it more and judging it more as opposed to just trying to take in the experience of the movie. Because I already know, like already at this point, I've only seen, I think 5, this being the 6th, I want to say. That he just throws shit in your face, and it's like if you keep trying to fucking pick up on it, you're gonna lose the movie.
I was gonna say it's nothing new in that sense of like how he operates in film.
Yeah.
Like, but I think movies like Black Klansman and Bamboozled are more successful at integrating the wide scope views of like what's in reality in the bigger picture, along with its like literal narrative. Where this film, I felt like they were opposing each other instead of coalescing more often than not personally.
Is it true that this is the project that Michael Mann was supposed to helm?
Fuck, I forgot to look
Called
into that.
Gold? Because if that's the
I'm
case,
not sure.
then the script probably had nothing to do with anything that Spike Lee brought to the project initially, and he probably is the one that integrated all the social elements into it.
I'm not positive.
And I wonder about like
I'm sorry,
like
I can't
putting
find it real fast
putting
either.
putting real life footage into movies and stuff. Like part of me thinks it's stylistic, but then another part of me goes, is that being like cheap? Is that being
Well,
like
sometimes
lazy per se?
This movie,
Because sometimes it's poignant. I'm not saying that it never is. I just feel like sometimes can it be used as a way to be like, just look, this is what it is. I don't feel like this is what it is.
I think those are the moments that like literally always affect me the most in his movies. But this is the one where I feel like they weren't integrated naturally. They felt a little more forced here. But they were still the moments that got to me the most, where you suddenly have montages of real people and real footage of destruction and despair, and like it always hits home where you're like, this isn't fiction. This is real.
Like what the ending of Black Klansman is what I always just go to. I'm like, oh, like
It's bone
fuck.
chilling.
And just like if you saw it around the time that it came out, it was even just that much more of like a punch to your fucking face.
And I think that will retain its power for a long time because we'll always remember this time. Like, this isn't going away. This isn't a blip in time. This is in the books. And so Black Klansman won't lose its relevancy once Dick heads out of office and the KKK's disbanded.
What did they call him in the movie?
Paul.
No, but
Spike
not
Lee
Paul.
calls him Agent Orange.
no, but they gave him another name in the movie. I can't remember what it is. They cut to a shot of Trump talking.
President Fake Bone Spurs.
Oh yeah, fake bone spurs, because that's how I got out of going to Vietnam,
Yes.
the war in which they fought in.
Yes. That makes sense now.
President Fake Bone Spurs.
And
I do
they,
remember
do
that.
they have that conversation in the scene where they dance with in the Apocalypse Now club?
That it's
They gotta
after
give it
that.
up?
It's after the dance, which
Okay.
is like literally the highlight of the movie.
it's-
But it happens like 5 minutes in.
Did
it's
you
like
know
the,
that
it's like
club-
the happiest part of the movie.
I literally wanted to cry tears of joy. I'm like, this is everything I want movies to be.
There's
is
a
this
scene
moment.
just like that in Black Klansman.
Just like
What-
it.
when they're
The
dancing.
Too Late to Turn Back Now.
Yeah, where it's
Yeah.
a joyous celebration through
And
black
that
bodies
scene
dancing.
was so amazing.
Yeah.
Spike comes back.
Spike likes his dancing, dude.
Yeah,
And he picks good music too.
He always wanted to make
Bamboozle.
a musical. You can feel it in his bones.
Well, I mean,
He's
we
like,
were at
"Ah,
that block party. We know how he feels about music.
This isn't what the people need. They don't want to hear us sing.
I was
God damn
thinking
it.
about that while I was watching this. That like while we saw him last year, he was making this.
Man, Tan.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I loved it simply on the proxy that it made me very, very emotional. And I was kind of surprised by that, given that, I'd heard that the movie ties in obviously to what's going on right now, like very pertinently, but I wasn't expecting it to hit as hard as it did, especially given that the characters are so fleshed out and so well realized. All the performances in this movie are incredible.
Yeah,
Delroy
amazing.
Lindo is getting all the praise he should be.
Dude,
Fucking-
Delroy Lindo literally kills it
the
as
fourth
Paul,
the
dude.
fourth wall breaks were really earned. Like when it took me a minute, I was like, is he fucking talking to me? I was like, is he talking to the camera right now? Like, and not all the time will I like that. And I thought it was really well done here. And I thought that all of Spike's stylish stuff was done really well here, except it did feel a little weird tacking on like that camera move that he does, the dolly like track. At
During the
end.
gotta give it. Oh,
There's that one shot at the end
With
where
the-
you
with the
see
monologue?
somebody where two people are sitting on a dolly with the camera as it moves, and everything else in the background is moving, but they aren't.
I can't. Even
It's in every
remember.
Spike movie for the most part. It's not in Do the Right Thing though, but
Well, that makes me curious. So, Paul Delroy Lindo has a moment where he just goes off the rocker and he starts screaming and wailing, and like some of it's a song, but a lot of it is just like gibberish, and like it's one of those things where it's like it seems good. Like when it first started happening, I literally laughed out loud. I was like, "What is he doing? Like this is so goofy." But it's like, and the days after, it's literally something that I keep on thinking about, like the visceral pain that you have to feel, and just like how fucked up you have to be to just like this is it, this is it, this is it, this is it,
what
and how do you express that? And I want to know how you think after watching Defy Bloods earlier today. How do you think it compares to when De Niro at the end of Cape Fear is screaming and speaking in the tongues, also basically falling into madness? Like, what compares? Like, you don't like when De Niro does it, right?
I know I said I did like when
you
De
did
Niro
like
does
it when De
Yeah.
Niro.
I
did
loved it when De Niro.
I thought
did
that
it.
was like
Y'all
the best
liked
part
it
of his
when De Niro
performance.
did it. But you also liked it when it was Paul.
Yes.
Mostly.
All right, I guess it was a me thing.
I think Delroy Lindo is like mostly on point in that movie. Occasionally, I'm like, I don't know about that, but I also think that's more with
It's
the
just
writing
a fully
than his
realized
acting.
emotional performance, Like I don't know, like I think that's because there was a lot of the scenes with him that ended up making me tear up and shit. So, and I think that was all riding on him selling how he was feeling and everything. But I don't want to get into too much.
Yeah.
because I feel like that's where you delve into spoiler territory.
Yes. Yes.
So watch it. Everybody.
Definitely recommend it no matter any quibbles I have.
It's a very strange movie. I definitely wish I could have seen it on the big screen. I think that like those scenes would have been even more and powerful, like in a theater with an audience and stuff. Always curious to see how people are going to take that material in after a screening. When you stay, like I remember after Black Klansman, that theater was like talking.
Didn't know Jonathan Majors was super ripped. That was startling when he took his shirt off. I was like,
Whoa,
nice. And that's all I want to
Where'd
say.
that come from?
And that's the
Shredded.
That's it. So watch Defy Bloods.
Yep.
Watch Cape Fear. Watch more Scorsese. Stay with us as we continue through this journey.
Because we will be back for the Age of Innocence.
I hope you like it, Brandon.
My
It's
first Daniel Day-Lewis
the first
movie.
Daniel Day. That's a big one.
Huzzah.
That's
Huzzah.
big.
I haven't seen it. It's one of the
And
last.
not my last Daniel Day.
Only
One
have
of the
once. I
last
really
3.
liked it, so I'm curious to see how I'll feel about it again.
I got 3 more to go.
We got that Criterion here, baby.
Oh, yeah.
So don't forget to
Second Sassy Criterion.
to like, subscribe, fucking hit that notification button.
Yeah.
And tell us you love us, and don't forget to click that link to the Black Lives Matter doc that we have on our Twitter page at Chronic Canon. So that's it. I'm Brandon signing off.
I'm Jesse. Signing off.
I'm Frank signing off.
Peace.
Goodbye.